Just started
Sorry.
recording.
That's okay.
Just
Um, man, that sucks. I'm sorry. It's
yeah.
like,
You lost yours once, right?
yeah, and then I started over, and it was actually honestly like when I when I started over, I was just like, wait, it's just annoying to have to be double guessing yourself every time and like all that anxiety and yeah, I just right now I'm like,
Girl, I hear you. I mean, social media as a whole.
yeah, I think it's just a lot and like the winter. So we went to MJ Biz and it was fun. It was interesting. It was a lot of
I
fun.
saw
Oh
that.
yeah, how was that?
It was it was honestly really intense. So I've never really been to any type of con, to be honest. Like I'm trying to think of like if I've ever been to a convention that like
Never ever, not
Like a
like a
whole,
comic
like a
convention
Comic Con,
or
yeah, or something
anime
like that.
convention or because I've been to a lot
no.
of those. My husband's a nerd and we've gone to like that and they cosplay and all that, which is so
See,
much
like
fun
yeah, like it was basically like kind of like that, but for weed.
for weed. Yes. That sounds like my kind of con right there.
Yeah, no, it was actually really fun, but it was also just like the industry is actually really huge and growing, and that part was cool to see, like everything like that. But it was in Vegas, and like it's just like
Yes.
a lot. I've only been to Vegas a few times when I was like much younger. Um and I liked it though. It was fun. I think it was just like I was a little saturated
Yes, it's
when
extremely overwhelming. Vegas is extreme, like overstimulating everything,
so
all
like
the sensories.
the other thing about con like if I went to a Comic-Con, I think it would be okay. I don't want to say anything super negative because I'm trying not to be like have a negative attitude about it, but I the industry is like a mixed bag of people, right? Like in the cannabis industry, there's people who don't smoke weed and who are just in it for like money.
Yeah, that business.
And yeah, and then there's people who are and there's every range. There's people who don't smoke any weed and are just in it pure business, and there's like a lot of like that sort of vibe, and then there's all the way to the other end where there's like um yeah, it's just like everywhere in between. I met a lot of
Huge
really cool
advocates
people.
to just business people to just,
Yeah, like
moms that got into it because their
what
kids
kind
needed
of
it. Like there's all over the map.
what do they have though? Is like booths with people?
Yeah, so the booths are like mostly lights, grow, soil, and then like maybe like vape cart fillers, like packaging booths, like there's a booth for like everything. Hey Riley.
Hey.
Hey, Riley. So
We're
What's
talking
that?
about MJ Biz and how saturating it was. There's also Riley pulls out this just J that I didn't know had concentrate in it. One of the days, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Like that'll help me like walk around and like be more social and socialize. And I was like, not more social.
Yeah. Easy to overdo it with those joints. Those are aggressive.
Little
It
too much
ended up
THC.
Yeah, it ended up being a great time, but I was remember meeting people being like, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely baked."
We also we don't usually use pens, but we both had pens in Vegas. And we were ripping on those like in the bathroom, like literally everywhere.
I've never used those pens because I understand why they're like advantageous, but I've just always really been about flour and like so I was not used to that at all. Actually, like it's funny, I like almost went through that entire pen and then now I brought it home and like I'm not using it. I have like a little bit.
Yeah, I don't buy them because I love them too much.
and
And then
that's the
I just
thing, they're so convenient that you're just constantly like tapping on them.
You're in
Boop, boop.
all the
Target, you're in
time.
the grocery store, you're like
Have you guys gotten do you guys like vaping flour?
Like dry herb vaping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have. I've done it in the past and like I know there's tons of people who really really like it. I don't know. There's something about just like I specifically like joints, which I know is like super wasteful. And today I got a bowl
Yeah,
instead.
I
But
had the packs too.
The pack
was a-
sounds good.
It was okay. It got really hot in my hand. I don't know if
Yeah.
mine
They all
got
tend
old.
to be
Yeah.
hot though.
Yeah, they are. I mean,
All the flower ones, they
yeah,
definitely do
they
that.
kind of have to.
Yeah, I
It's
guess it makes sense.
unfortunate. Yeah.
But
I had a PAX too. I've had a Magic Flight. Have you? This is like a while ago, but have you seen those ones? It's like it's like a little tiny like wooden box, and you just stick the battery in the side.
huh.
And it's a really small, like tiny. I had one of those for years and years ago when I like was trying to conserve bud. Also, I don't love vaping, but I really like cooking with ABV.
Yes, the
Like,
what's left over after
Yep.
the browned
Really?
flour.
Why? Can you tell me
Oh,
why?
MJ used to
Yeah,
cook
I
with it all
know,
the
but
time.
I mean, you get double use out of it to a certain extent, but why do you like cooking with it?
it's such a good high for me. Like it's a really good feeling. It's super body chill. Like,
More
So
like
you cook with
CBN?
it?
yeah. I mean that's what I would definitely assume that there's more CBN,
Mhm.
there's less THC, and also it's really easy since it's ABV. You just literally throw it in something when it's done. Like you make chili and then you just throw it in chili and mix it up, or you make like tacos or make anything and you just throw it in there and it doesn't taste bad. I mean, like I don't dislike the taste of it. Like I think it just tastes like oregano. I don't know. Like it's
Yeah.
like an herb.
Edibles don't work for me, but every time MJ would make edibles, she uses that
Yeah.
the leftovers because she vapes flour, and everybody would always be like, "Oh, these edibles are great," you know, and everybody's like feeling
Yeah.
it, and I'm the only one not. But
So you can't feel them ever, even with the ABV. That's crazy.
yeah, I've never. I remember we were going to Orlando. We went to Harry Potter World, and her husband and my husband all ate brownies that she made. And when we got there, and they were like, "Woo, flying high," and I'm like, "Ah, I need to smoke a bowl before we go in there or something because nothing
Smoke
is
a
happening
bowl.
to me.
Need
The
to chew
brownies
some-
tasted
eat
delicious.
some
They were yummy,
mushrooms.
but nothing's happening.
Oh, that's funny.
I know you gotta eat some mushrooms. They last for longer in
Yeah,
a
eat some-
I've done that too at
Universal.
Universal too. The first time I went to Harry Potter World, I did it sober.
It was good.
I did it sober.
Worth
Then we
it?
went to the car and ate chocolate frogs because we literally made chocolate. We got a chocolate frog molding and we made it with shroom chocolates. And then we ate those chocolates and then we went back into the park and redid all of Harry Potter World
That's
again.
fun.
On a
That is so cool. And
That's
so
legit.
on theme with
I'd
Harry
be so
Potter.
scared
That's
to ride
amazing.
those rides too, though.
It was amazing.
Oh my
So
god, I
cool.
can't imagine.
Oh man. Okay, that is on another level, making chocolate frogs. I was just like, we didn't nerd out about this before, but I'm also a huge Harry Potter fan. And that is next level to put them in like a little mold and like, oh my gosh, I
We're
love
literally
it. Okay.
magic chocolate frogs.
All right,
Oh
we're
my
gonna have to
God.
come when we come to Florida. We'll have to. I mean, Orlando's not that close. Is it close to Miami? Is it a
It's
driving
4 hours.
distance?
It's
Yeah.
3.5 hours.
We're going in
Driving.
February if you
We're-
guys want to join
Yeah, we're
us.
doing a pot smoking moms trip. Moms
just
only,
moms
adults only,
only.
no kids. We're gonna go to Disney.
for like a weekend.
Yeah.
I've never been to Disney as an adult. Like, I think it would be a whole different experience. It would be
Yeah.
so fun.
And Disney's changed so much since I'm sure
Since
the
you
last time you were there if you weren't an adult.
Go to Epcot.
Yeah.
I've never been. I don't think I've ever been to Epcot. Yeah,
There's
I've
been
never
so many things that have opened there that it's definitely worth checking out. I do feel like they're pricing out middle class families though, because they're getting really expensive, but that's a
Dude,
whole
when-
conversation I could have like forever.
when I was little, because I'm from Southern California, we could go for like the whole year for under $100. Like it
What?
was crazy cheap because you were like it was like a local thing. You couldn't go every day. Like there were certain days that were like, I'm assuming they were the days that they weren't
Oh,
busy, so
blackout
they-
days and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
yeah, stuff like that. But
No,
no, that sounds awesome in February, considering
Yeah,
it's
the weather's
probably
gonna be
cold as
great.
fuck.
Over there where you're at now, where it's gonna be
Yeah.
perfect.
It's gonna be like
Disney
60
weather.
degrees here. Like it's gonna be perfect walking around Disney weather.
I have a couple friends. I have a friend in out in Utah, and she's like, "Man, it's gonna be miserable cold over here." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Come on over to Florida,
Come to Disney with us.
yeah, take a break from the cold."
But the last time we had you guys on the show, a lot has changed since then. You guys have your podcast now. You work together now. Riley, you got your PhD.
I did.
So
Yeah,
much
that's
happened in the
crazy.
time.
I forgot that was when we talked.
It was before, right
gosh.
before.
That was
Wow.
pre Dr. Kirk.
Feels like a whole different life I'm living now.
Yeah.
Completely different.
How are you liking it? How are you liking working together and doing the podcast?
It's been, I think it's been amazing. I mean, I never pictured my life at how it is now back when I was in my PhD, like trying to complete it. But I think we have like the coolest job ever. We're able to talk to people about cannabis, about stuff we're extremely passionate about, and just trying to like tell everyone all the cool shit about cannabis and just how helpful it can be. We get to work together. We get to be on social media. I think it's awesome.
So when we did the last time that we talked with you guys, we were like solidifying the fact that we would work together. Kind of. I think that was, I
Yeah.
think if
Yeah.
I'm remembering correctly, that was like what was going on. But we couldn't really say it out loud because it wasn't like, nothing was like tied in a bow with like the paperwork signed and everything. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, a lot. I mean, for me, like, even though we were actually just talking about how like social media can be really negative, or it can have some negative aspects to it, which we all know really well. But like meeting people through social media has been really, really eye-opening, and finding other people who are passionate about like destigmatizing cannabis and also just about being real humans, even though part of what we do on social media isn't all of us, like, right, like you don't ever show like every side. There's always like, I don't, but you still are a real human behind the camera, like sharing your personal experience.
Right. Like there's a different, I know there's some people who are like every personal detail of their life is on, and they're like a personality, right? Like they're this person.
Yeah.
I could never be, I don't know. I could never be that person. Documenting absolutely everything, that's hard. I can't
You
even
have to be
document
able
some
to like,
things.
yeah, you got to be able to turn it off and like, just kind of not connect with that side of the world for a little bit. Live in the moment. I think it's so important, and we're kind of losing that aspect. People aren't able to disconnect anymore, and yeah, I think
And
it's kind of problematic.
people can be like within, I think this within a lot of different communities, but the cannabis community, as it grows and grows and gets bigger and bigger, like I think people can be really divisive and like really, I think, critical of other people, especially like those of us that are putting content out there like into the universe. Like, it's not, we are just humans with our opinions, like, and we're just, doing, I don't know, just trying to do things for free and for like building the community and like
I know
building
it's a lot of free work as a creative person.
And you wish that people would, instead of saying things in a negative way, just pose it as a conversation that we can have. And then social media would be awesome. It would be incredibly educational, but it's often just so combative, and you don't even like want to answer the questions, and it causes a lot of drama. And if we just posed the questions differently and our comments differently, I think it would be a much more positive space.
I know it's so mixed. And then the competition between creators, because jealousy makes people do crazy things. It's insane.
It's just such a wide range because you have these amazing followers and people and relationships you make, and you get like all this great interaction, but it comes with so much on the other end as well,
Yeah.
negativity and jealousy and just trolls, and it's
And the
difficult.
cannabis community is kind of like very sensitive in the sense that like, right, we do something that although we're trying to destigmatize, it's still, under the radar. Like it's still like people are still, social media platforms are still stifling content, and, and to a certain extent, I understand, because there is some content that is like, if it's distasteful and it's a little bit, but
it's definitely still stigmatized big time on social media.
Yeah.
Riley, you lost your Instagram account recently too, right?
Yeah, I was also like calling out people, so that could have had something to do with it.
Yeah, but you were calling out people for being extremely misogynistic. Like there
I know,
were
and
some like
I thought I just want to like, all I'm trying to tell people is like spread more love. Like I'm just trying to say that message, but like call people out. And then I think it was probably someone in that group that probably reported me, but luckily they gave it back. So I'm pretty thankful. So I'm okay right now.
Congrats. But but it fucks with you. But when it gets taken away and then they give it back to you and then they take it, it's like such a mind fuck, man. And then,
sorry, go ahead.
And then how do you gauge your success if it's not in the numbers? And then you start seeing some of your shit tank and you're just like, fuck, it really messes with you.
Yeah, I totally gonna agree with that. It's just like we use it as a business tool too, like for Smokenol and for our personal brands. So when it's removed for no reason, when we're being extremely professional on the platforms,
for
it's
people
like
just being angry,
or for people just hating on you, like just
reporting,
to
which is how we're pretty sure we lost our TikTok account. The first time we lost it was just because of violations, whatever, they gave it back. But the next time was a miscommunication with some people that didn't like a video that she did.
Yeah, they thought I stole something. And I was like, first of all, it's TikTok. I'm not stealing your content. I'm putting a spin on a trend. And we just so happen to have
the
similar
same spin, like a similar spin. We had the same idea.
Stoner niche. And we took a trend.
That's what TikTok's built on. You're
right. So it was this whole, and then I thought they were, because our sound has been used so much that, meme accounts, like somebody else has used our sound and a meme account picked up their video. I have had friends send me that video and go, "Isn't this your voice?" And me be like, yeah.
Is it the song? Is it the song one?
I want to smoke weed.
Smoke weed. Oh my gosh, no, it's like I'm not
a lot.
It goes through my mind very often. Like it's so good. Also, just like such a good, it was like perfect.
Right. And so like as a creator, I'm proud that there are people who are using my sound and getting millions of views. And there's a meme, a meme account, like, that's my, okay. I have people who can tell that's my sound. Right. It's thankless when you make sounds, but like people who are like, I don't know, there's like a whole tussle in the cannabis community because of jealousy and like.
I feel like that's mostly in TikTok. Like the whole reporting of each other
Instagram
and all
too.
that.
People come and hate on your Instagram if you have a post that happens, because it's hard on Instagram for a post to go viral or whatever, to catch more eyes than normal, right?
Yeah, than your followers. Or
like, if someone steps in there and starts throwing shade and you fight back, because like, that's the thing, right? Like, sometimes you want to fight back because like, what the fuck? Like, I'm defending myself. Right. It was a whole miscommunication. Someone came to me telling me that I stole something, but I thought they said someone stole something from me. So then I commented, "Oh, hey, whatever, man. It's how it goes here.
It happens.
It happens."
Which actually could be a perfectly fine response in the other case, too.
Right.
Like,
but since they didn't like that.
But right. But since they were accusing me of stealing, then that whole phrase was just not, they were not happy with that phrase.
This exists in like, I feel like this whole thing exists in every space where it's like people, it's this whole thing about feeling like you get the right amount of credit for like the things that you do or something. And I think we should move forward as like a whole community and just be like, all visibility for this is good. And like,
it sucks though. Exactly. But it sucks though, because they have a point to some extent. Like it sucks because everybody's kind of right? Like it sucks because I saw another TikTok where this lady was like really pissed because she was like, "Oh, stand-up comedians who have sounds on TikTok and other people are trying to benefit from their sounds. Like if they were the ones who wrote the joke." I get that. But, it's TikTok. Like that's kind of the name of the fucking game, really. Like, well, you can't get upset that someone's like reenacting a stand-up routine. Like,
dude, what? It's crazy. It's like almost every single video you see on TikTok, somebody's mad at it. Like somebody is mad at that video, or at least the very popular ones. Like I don't think I've ever had a video go up where someone wasn't like, "You pronounced herbal wrong," and I'm like, okay, like I'm sorry.
I don't understand how anybody could be mad about any of your videos.
Wait,
your videos, they're so good and so like informative,
silly,
and like
okay,
properly like phrased for everyone to understand. That's what's so great.
It's because I record them 40 times.
What about, okay, just really quick, a real life talk here is that there are two different ways of pronouncing cannabinoid or
Cannabinoid.
Okay, it's cannabinoid or
Cannabinoid.
cannabinoid. Wait, say it. Can you say it, Riley? What's the second one?
Cannabinoid or cannabinoid?
Cannabinoid.
Cannabinoid or cannabinoid. And since it's so since it's cannabis, people think that it should be cannabinoid, and like that's like a very strong opinion, which I think actually came from Clubhouse. Maybe I'm not sure if that's the
Clubhouse is just the ones that get mad over it. I don't know if it came from Clubhouse, but the people on Clubhouse are like
so pretentious,
like aggressive about.
Yeah, okay.
Clubhouse.
I said I think Clubhouse is the equivalent of putting a like stage up in downtown Boston with like a free megaphone, and it's just like, everyone come say your opinion. Like that's what I feel like Clubhouse.
Oh my God. I feel like it's just like a circle jerk constantly in these rooms.
And the same thing. What Riley brought up the other day is that it's like often like the same thing.
The same people.
Like,
and then after you've been on for a month, you're like, so I've heard all of your opinions on this subject. Is there anything else we could discuss? No? Okay, we're going to just start back over? Okay, cool.
Replay.
Groundhog
Day.
So officially, I've always said cannabinoid, but that's because I come from studying the endocannabinoid system, and that's the way that that's pronounced. Like
people think it's endocannabinoid system too. I swear.
And perhaps also, to be fair, like I was educated by very specific people, and they happen to say endocannabinoid. It could be that other people say endocannabinoid. But like for me, it's just easier to say cannabinoid. I've mostly heard people say cannabinoid. Like that's just, I think it's like tomato or potato.
I just try to avoid saying the word because I always feel like I'm saying it wrong.
You remember we had, every time you guys say it, I cannot stop thinking back in, I don't know. I want to say maybe season 3 or something. We had a segment.
Cannabinoid.
Do, 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 do.
Cannabinoid. Do, do, do.
That's amazing.
And then we would talk about the different cannabinoids.
And when we were trying to sing it, we're like, how is it? We're like, which way is it? Chisholm didn't the Dr. Chisholm Alex from TikTok tell us when we had her on the show a long time ago. Yeah.
And she would say it like that. And then we were like, okay, so that's how you say it.
Yeah.
Like that's how we will say it from now on. Okay.
Yeah. Take notes. Yeah. I mean, I think
Alex say cannabinoid. Wait, how does Alex say it? Now I'm like tripping
cannabinoids, right?
I don't
remember which way she said it, but I do remember when she said it. She's like, "Oh, we're like, oh,
yeah."
I don't remember which way now.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to pay more attention.
Go back and listen. We gotta go back and listen to that episode.
But this is another reason why they're like, even within, so then it's like the cannabis community is super divisive over certain things and certain topics, and then within that the like scientific community is also really divisive and like judgmental, and it's like there's this whole like double stigma thing going on that I think is interesting when we're really just all like working towards the same thing, kind of, but not really. Like some people in the industry want to see cannabis be like more pharmaceutical, and then some people want to see it more like natural products. Like, and I think either one of them has a place. Like
I feel like all of them have everything. They all have a place.
Right, so we don't have to like demonize. Like we don't have to demonize
one side,
but it's like natural.
Like the whole plants over pills. Like they're like, oh, why are we gonna turn it into a pill?
But isn't it like also too like natural paths against everybody? Standard medicine too. Those two fight all the time about stuff.
Yes, yeah. Like traditional medicine. Yeah, right. Absolutely. I honestly, I know a lot of people think this, but I think it should be like a human right to have access to all plants and fungi that are naturally occurring. Like, how is that not? 100%. That doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I think that I think that we should just decriminalize everything and treat substance use as like, you can treat substance use disorders and treat like, so everything, if you're on a drug and you commit a crime, everything that you would have been doing that's a crime already has a crime for it. Like if you're
Yeah.
like if except for maybe driving under the influence. That's probably the only thing where it's not a crime if you're not on drugs.
Yeah. If you're
But like
sober.
yeah, exactly. But like let's just say you're like on drugs, like sitting on a park bench, like looking at the grass or like watching the sidewalk. Like you're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing that you're doing except for like possessing drugs or being on drugs. I don't
And
actually think that
ruining your
that's
own life.
Yeah.
well,
if
yeah,
you're-
and right, potentially risking or putting negative detriment on your own life. I don't think that that's like a criminal problem. I
100%.
think that's like a community problem. That's like a mental health problem. That's a like support system and like I don't know, lifestyle, quality of life, education problem. Like
Yes. They should not go to jail for that. They just
Well,
get help.
it's also, yeah, we talk always about like the resources situation. Open up the resources, right? We want to get people who are in locked up for nonviolent cannabis crimes. We want them out because obviously that's going to further cannabis world. So like, because those people, if you're making money off of it, they need to get out of there. We need to readjust evaluate that. But like also too, like, I don't think defund the police, but I do feel like we do need to rearrange our resources because there's certain scenarios
Well,
that
it's not
cops
defunding. It's not like we're taking
shouldn't-
all their money. It's just like
right,
some
but
of
like
that money, let's put it into other resources, like you're
yeah,
saying.
or like social services, like sometimes we need people to bring down situations instead of cops with guns. That's like I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
there's
yeah, I mean, the world.
de-escalation.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. We're all agreeing with what she was just saying at the same
We're all
time.
like, yes.
Social workers. It should be like militarized help to go help in a mental health situation. And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
that's not.
Well, it's like it's definitely a skill. Like de-escalation
Mhm.
is something that can be taught. It's a skill. It's also something that certain people are better at because it's something that could be really scary if you're not educated. Like if someone's on a drug and like freaking out or overdosing and like you don't have experience with de-escalation or with those drugs specifically, right?
Mhm.
Then it's something that can just like continue to escalate. Yeah, I think I mean, in terms of like the human right aspect of being able to access things and choose to put things in your body, I think everything should be viewed in terms of like relative benefit and relative harm, and that like it's easy, I think, for other people to judge other people on what's right for everyone else when like, and this is like an example with cannabis where there's a lot of people that would judge like anyone who uses cannabis regularly or uses it daily, and genuinely I believe it's for my health and it replaces a lot of medications that I would be on otherwise, and it's not perfect, but it's a choice because it's this relative thing. And I think it's so easy to forget that like certain people don't have access to that, because I've always lived in like a legal state, or not always, but like California went med in 1996, and then I moved to Massachusetts the year that it was passed, even though nothing was like open or
Yeah, you've been
anything
in pretty good states.
Yeah. I've been in
Cali
Georgia,
and
Florida.
So it's like easy for me to forget it, and I forget it often. And then what you were saying about people still being in prison and being in jail, and so like because weed now is so much stronger, like because we have so much more if we're actually just talking THC, like there are people that are still in jail right now for carrying around like the equivalent of like a pre-roll,
Yep.
or like and it's like that to me I think is it's complicated because
That's
it
fucked
takes
up. The people who are like watching the jail cell are probably going home and smoking a doobie every night, and it's like that's our system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how are you gonna like, the only way to really change that is by is to advocate for these things to happen. And I don't even know where to begin, because I only did there was only a short period where I was like trying to get involved, at least in decriminalization specifically, which is still going on here in Massachusetts and elsewhere. Also, there's a big movement currently going on for decrim.
They
That's
just
awesome.
introduced a bill here in Florida to decriminalize all illicit drugs
Everything, yeah.
That's awesome.
in
So
Florida.
Cambridge.
I
Yeah.
don't.
I don't know if it's gonna make it
I
very
don't think
far,
it's gonna
but
make it very far.
it was just introduced. It was just
Yeah.
like
Not this time, but the conversation's starting, and that's a huge
and
step. I mean,
Miami's been having a lot of big psychedelic conferences and stuff like that and events. Like psychedelics are being talked about a lot down here.
that's great. I mean, the more we talk, the more people ask questions, the more education people get, whether they know they're getting the education or not. And then over time, more and more people are going to try it. They're going to go, hey, that was actually really okay. Like, it wasn't scary. It was helpful, whatever. Going to keep spreading word, etc. We're going to get there. It just, this is the beginning for sure. But I mean, I'm talking to more older people that are using psilocybin or using cannabis, like more people than ever. I think that is so promising, just to see kind of the word get out that there are benefits, and it's not scary as long as you take your time, know your dose, you're around comfortable people, what your first times, it's good.
It's
100%.
safe. I feel like so cannabis is like the least toxic to my knowledge, and I'm assuming it's like the least toxic psychoactive molecule or drug or plant that we found. There's no acute overdose for cannabis, right? Like you can't actually um, die from acutely taking too much THC or CBD. But the next safest thing out there are the psychedelics.
We were
In
talking,
contrast.
how the hell is salvia legal? Is it still legal? Because
You know why? I feel like it's legal because no one has a good time.
nobody comes back. The market just like
Interested.
plummeted.
What is that?
It's another like dry herb that it's like a hallucinogenic when you smoke it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's
It's
like
actually
I didn't
it's
try
actually
it.
sage. Like cooking
Yeah, it's like,
sage.
oh, is that what it is?
Well, no. It's not the same. It's the same family of
yeah.
plant,
Yeah, it's
and
like
then
it's like a herb. It looks like a dry herb.
they concentrate it, and
Yeah,
then
you sell them at like smoke shops, right? Like that's where I bought them a long, long, long time ago.
I haven't seen it.
But don't
recently.
they have that other stuff? What is that kratom stuff? Kratom, or have you
Oh,
seen that?
that's an opioid.
I have some of that actually. I've
tried
had
it.
the tea a few times.
Oh, you tried it as a tea?
Yeah.
The kava? How about there's also
Oh, I've tried kava also. That one's different too. Those are lactones. So like it's all of these natural products, I think it's really, really interesting because they mimic these other molecules. They're not exactly the same, but like they do mimic the other molecules that we know, and so they can have like somewhat similar effects. Like I don't know if it's kratom or kratom, but it's an opioid. It's like similar-ish to opioids, but it's different. It has other properties, and you have to take like it's. I think it's more in terms of like, I guess like it's more medicinal in terms of like the level of effect. It's not like as strong of a extreme like painkiller. I think it's more on the lines of like can help your pain like better than Advil maybe, depending on your pain.
I think
type.
that's like again, I'm gonna say kratom because I've heard kratom, whatever. I've heard kratom is extremely good for people who have irritable bowel syndrome.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
maybe.
And I don't really know the mechanism there. I mean, it could be opioid receptor related, but I always thought that was kind of interesting. I've had multiple people tell me that after they've taken it, that their symptoms were relieved.
It
Well,
also
I know-
could just be the plant.
Yeah.
People use it to get off of harder drugs too. I've heard, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like again like this reduction of harm or this idea that it would that to be completely sober you have to be like 100% sober. I think is like just not correct because everyone has a journey.
Just out here
essentially.
raw dogging life. Come on,
You can't do
guys.
life
You can't be out here raw dogging life and acting like everything is cool, right? I mean, there's
Oh my
those
gosh.
that exist.
Well, though I feel like those people they're getting their high elsewhere, you know. Like I mean, not saying that there's potentially there's one human out there or something that's like perfectly fine without some other sort of like vice or something, but like people just have their other things that they do or whatever, like that are more socially acceptable, like drinking.
Yeah.
it is one that's like
Or
really
they have their own other ways to get their, serotonin fix. They're like, collectors, or they obsess about something, or, there's different
Or
things.
Jesus, maybe for some people.
gambling
Gambling.
is like
That's a bad
big
one.
working out is one. People like who are like intensely into
Yeah, it releases a lot
working
of
out.
endorphins. It feels
It's
good.
fun.
Yeah,
Like-
but that also kind of goes hand in hand with like eating disorders. So, like the
It
whole
can.
obsessive compulsive with the working out and stuff. Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I think it's like I've definitely struggled with that in terms of like I used to be an athlete, and so much of my life was like constructed around working out that then when I stopped being an athlete, that was like it was a huge struggle. Also, this is a total tangent and not related, but the idea there's a huge population of stoner athletes. It's like very
Yes,
common. I feel like it's
common.
incredibly common as like a recovery.
Yes.
But also I think because it's like it's just that chill factor where
Mhm.
it's like
And
I think
it
working
not
out-
only de-stresses you, but it also helps you recover, like you said,
Your
from pain.
muscles.
Also, because of the pain, it helps with pain. Like football players, they get beat the fuck up in a game,
Football
and
players
to go home and smoke a blunt or smoke something to help relieve that, it helps them.
yeah,
Oh,
there's
I
early
bet.
evidence that it helps like
Concussions.
that it helps recovery from TBIs and concussions, and that made me feel really good because I've had a bunch of TBIs when I was younger, and I was like, oh, good. It's good though because at least I was like smoking up, like had that at least a piece of that.
Where
like,
did the whole myth that like smoking weed kills brain cells? Like, that's not what happens. Like, why do they say it kills brain cells? Why?
I think it's from a study that shows that it slows them down. I think it comes from, and I'm not positive about this. I don't know what you think about this, Riley, but I think it's because the endocannabinoid system in general decreases. It's inhibitory. Like in general, the system inhibits other brain cells from firing, not killing them, but it like decreases the amount of activity in your brain. In some parts of your brain, it decreases like spontaneous activity,
which is why it's great for seizures.
and for anxiety.
And you talked about that, like when you talked about the pain episode that you did on the podcast, like how it slows and it goes opposite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. That's dope.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. Yeah, it goes in the opposite direction. So I think that it was misconstrued from the research because I think it was intentionally misconstrued.
I was gonna say, I think it's propaganda.
Yes.
How that started, because propaganda really fucked everything up. The way that the media like controlled what people thought about.
It's like, this is your brain. This is your brain on drugs.
Well, and everyone's seen the melted into the couch picture, right? I mean, just that kind of stuff. It's like, and
I mean, I've been there. We've been
well, I was
there.
gonna say, as Miyabe's saying, like, of course. But I mean, we're always happy. We're always getting things done. But like, I think
they're scared of that. They're scared of
just because that's
chilling on
one
the couch.
experience
Like,
doesn't mean that that's every experience of cannabis. Just because that happens sometimes when you have cannabis, where you feel like you're just kind of like in the couch, you know how they say, doesn't mean that every experience with cannabis is like that.
Yeah.
No, and also those end up being good experiences. Me and one of my like best friends were talking about it the other day. We were like, remember that time we went to the party and both of us just sat on the couch for hours and didn't speak to anyone for hours, and then left and had a great time and felt great the next day. Like,
yeah, people watch and you're just like,
I was totally guy on the couch, early 20s, when I would get too high. Like, we'd be like all night smoking. I would eventually be the one passed out on the couch, and they'd be like, all right, guy on the couch, let's go. Like, waking me up when it was time to go.
no, so they wanted it to say that it like killed off brain cells or made you dumber. I think that it's like, I think it's because there's some evidence against like memory, and it's making you slower in general. It's not always a bad thing. Whenever we talk about decreasing brain activity, like that sounds really negative to be like, oh, it decreases brain activity. That sounds super negative.
some people need their brain activity to decrease.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I was just gonna be like this one, like 100%. And like I also get the question often, and we like on TikTok we often get the question of like when is too young to start smoking, or when
Oh, that's a
to
tough
Which I feel is young people trying to make excuses for them, like trying to feel, you know what I mean? Trying to get a validation.
Hello,
for their-
17-year-old me found us on the internet. And I smoked weed when I was 17.
Yeah, people would be
18.
like, "Oh, you
I would have
guys,
been like,
I wish you were my
whoa.
mom's."
Wait, what
I
age do
think
you
we would
guys
let them
like?
smoke weed and be like, no. And then a lot of kids, I'd be
I
like,
was young.
we would still not let you smoke
She
weed.
didn't start until college.
Yeah, I was like 18. I mean,
But
I
what
thought you
age
said
would
like
you
20.
tell someone like this is a good age to start smoking weed?
Now as a mom, I kind of want my kid to wait until like early 20s.
That's not gonna happen.
No, it's not. But
they might be sick of our shit and be like, "Oh, we just so stupid, my dumb mom."
That's fair.
The hope I have is that he's been growing up around it, and it's something that his mom and dad has been doing, and it's not like this thing that he needs to try that is like so taboo and like he's like, oh, my parents do that all the time, like it's no big deal, you know. So he may wait, who knows.
I'd be like, you better not be smoking no shitty weed.
Your weed for me, okay?
I'd be like, I'd find the weed and be like, hey, you're grounded and I'm smoking it. So.
I feel like you should just be like, that'll be it until you're 18 or
I learned it from you. I learned it from watching you. Remember that one?
Like,
remember that one? Do you remember that commercial?
The dad.
Yeah.
The dad has a joint and the kid finds a joint. And
I learned it from watching you.
Yeah, and then he yells at him that shit. I learned it from watching you.
Oh, man.
That was dramatic.
Man, the 90s and 80s Dare commercials and drug-free. What is it? The war on drugs.
I'm sorry. We were damaged big time because even like, well, I have another podcast and we talk about a lot about like weight because we deal with a lot of weight issues, like as a collective, like the three hosts on the show. But oh my God, in the 90s, the whole like fad about women being thin and shit. And like it was like, you know, everybody was like rail thin and it was celebrated.
So thin.
Low rise jeans with your flat,
the pressure
out.
The pressure. Oh my God, how traumatic.
So there's a statue here. There's a statue in downtown Boston for like the Irish famine to like commemorate that situation. And like, whenever you look at that statue, you're like, to me, when I'm like down there looking at it and like, I think of like the early 90s, like fad, like that's it's like famine, like it's unhealthy. Famish. But I genuinely, it's so difficult because I'm happy now that this is finally starting to change, but we didn't see any, it wasn't even just like the rail thin, like coked out, like look, it was that everyone was also like exactly the same, like rail thin, like.
Yeah, that's as thin as their eyebrows. And you're like, oh my gosh, how? You know, they were not having healthy lifestyles. Like that looked like they were.
Oh no, there's no way.
But so every era, it's also an interesting about like the fads of like, maybe it is true that like, because I think it'll be different for people who are growing up with cannabis just like available and having it be.
Yeah, and then us have to tell them the horror stories of us having to cop weed.
You should do that parody.
What?
A whole new world, like
what?
With cannabis being like normal.
Only older people will get it, I feel like, because it's like it's just such a different thing. Or like the paranoia that would come of like, I don't know, like going to go get frozen yogurt and you're like, yo, the cops are here. Like
no, none of that anymore. And you don't have to go to like sketchy places to meet up a plug and stuff. You could like just go to a dispensary now or get weed delivered to your house. Before it's like, oh, do you know, guy, my plug's dry? Like, you know, and then you like got to meet him up in a public place. First time you ever met this person. It's like,
yeah,
we're risking our lives.
We would call him the mission. Oh, we got to go on a mission now, man.
That's
we got to go on a mission.
We used to risk our lives.
They were kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Some good stories.
Because you knew you were going to smoke after.
You also ended up like, this is also just another argument for Decrim in general, is that like when things are when things are illegal, they tend to like congregate because less people are willing to like provide for like or risk like an illegal situation. And like now you go to a dispensary and you're like just purchasing it from a person, and that it's like going to a store.
Walk into
And
your car with a little bag of weed, like
yeah, exactly.
I got weed deliveries the last 2 days, you guys.
Delivered to your home,
Bro,
like,
2 days in a row. Yeah.
That's incredible.
it's really
pretty
a whole
great.
new world.
Yeah.
It really is.
so this is like I just think it's incredible and it's really positive, and I think that there's so much that we have yet to explore, and the industry is starting to do it. And that's why like I'm a big proponent of like rare cannabinoids and like mixtures and trying to understand like the whole picture, the entourage effect, and how it all kind of like comes together. So from that angle, I don't think that the pharmaceutical lens, I don't believe currently that we would like ever replicate something perfectly with the pharmaceutical combination, because it's like 300 plus things that
Wow.
we would be looking at potentially. And,
Well-
and we don't know.
And we're never going to be as fucking good as the plant at making it. So why are we trying? Like it's already the most optimized thing. It's there. Nature did it. We just need to understand how to use it.
And like the fact that it's alive, I mean, the fact that this is like a living plant and creates the reason why it creates certain ratios of things is because it's alive. Like, I'm trying to think of how to explain this. Like, if we were to make it something in a test tube, like you can easily make THC, no, I guess not super easily, but you could make synthetic cannabinoids in test tubes and then, you know, synthesize them, and you make a lot of them out of like just the pure molecules. But like the reason why the plant makes certain ratios of the molecules to one another, like the reason why there's a mixture of the terpenes and all of the cannabinoids and everything, that partially is controlled by the plant being alive. Like a piece of that happens because the plant is also a living thing. And I just think that's like close to magic how that works together, you know, with all natural products. But also, like we were talking about mushrooms earlier, like it also blows my mind that mushrooms and cannabis go together, and that they are it's not talked about super often, but that you could actually use less of both of them when you take them together. Yeah, which is and have similar beneficial effects in terms of like we're talking about there's vast therapeutic applications or recreational effects.
Well, and most people are already taking them together. At least everyone I know. Like you take mushrooms and you smoke weed. Like it's just or you smoke weed and then you eat mushrooms. Like whatever.
As
Like
if you're like
You eat the mushrooms, you're like, all right, let's go smoke to see if it'll kick the
it kicks in faster.
Yeah, it's like let's go get that stuff.
And it decreases any nausea or any like
Yes.
so that you don't the part I hate.
I a lot of times when I'm a puker. I've puked.
Yeah.
But
I have a phobia.
feel like I'm going to, or I have to go to the bathroom, like, you know, like go sit in the bathroom.
Whenever I'm in the bathroom, for some reason, the floor trips me out. Like it's like every bathroom floor is so weird.
Try it in Vegas. Okay. Because those bathrooms are insane. Okay. And the first time I went to Vegas, I went with a group of friends and we ate shrooms and we just walked the strip and we literally we had to pee all the time. So we literally every hotel we would stop and use their bathroom. It was like a bathroom tour of the strip. But it was like
I bet you guys had fun. Yeah, I bet you guys had fun though.
Find a bathroom, and then the bathrums are extremely extravagant. Like
I was just gonna say that. Like if there's a place to take a bathroom tour, it's Vegas because those things, like I would have paid money to pee there. They were amazing. They were gorgeous.
I think it was the Venetian, like the back of the bathroom doors are painted, and it looked like you're on like in the Venetian waters and stuff. I was like, geez,
incredible.
And they're clean.
Yeah.
So clean, pristine.
The cleanest bathrooms you've ever seen. So clean.
That's seen not all we did the whole time we were showing, but pretty much every spot we went to.
It makes sense.
Vegas just was like, that's what I imagine like really, really good virtual reality to look like like the metaverse in
Yeah.
like 20 years is gonna look like Vegas now.
Isn't it so cheesy though?
It's like an adult playground. It's just like
it's cheesy in like the best ways. Like
Yeah.
it's
No, okay, it's totally cheesy, but it's like in a way that's so over the top that you like are appreciating how over the top
It's
it is, I
ridiculous.
guess.
Yeah, it's like a Wes Anderson movie, probably, right?
it's going hard for one thing. Like every casino has its like
A theme, and they're writing that theme.
yeah, and it's like every freaking thing from like the door handles on the freaking door. Every door
The
handle has
carpets, the floors, the
Oh my
ceiling,
God.
everything.
Oh, but you can't buy weed on the strip. You can only buy CBD, and it's like some rule that you can only buy weed like a mile from the strip or something, which I thought was weird. I
What?
thought that was interesting. Yeah, you can buy hemp flour, so they sell like
Well,
hemp
I'm
products.
sure
like,
too.
totally-
It would be everywhere. They were
But
like,
there's
okay,
alcohol
guys.
That's fair.
everywhere. Why can't there
That's
be
fair.
cannabis? Like, what
Yeah,
the hell?
That's true too. You're right.
I thought it was
So
interesting.
effed up.
I just thought that was
I'm
an
happy about
interesting
that.
thing because we were like, well, when we were walking through, we were like, oh, we could just buy weed here. It was a store that was like weed, or I don't know what it was called, but remember it
Oh.
was like, and
Yeah,
then
but
we
it's
went over there,
CBD.
yeah, and it was all.
But
It was
thankfully
all
the guy told us. He could have we would have bought that.
somebody.
100%.
It's called. I know if we've talked about this place before, and people
Somebody
get
brought
gypped
it
and
up
people get
before
so
on the
mad.
show. I can't remember who it was.
Legal weed or
Legal
something.
weed. Legal weed.
Yeah, that's very
Something like that.
misleading.
Right.
Like, it's,
They're
I think
benefiting
it
from
was
that,
legal
and
weed.
then
I
people are
think
like,
you're right.
"Oh God, it took me."
I mean, there's nothing wrong. I really like hemp flour, but I feel like it should be clear, like a clear
Yeah.
delineate. I mean, I make like salads. Like I have like a salad going on where I like mix it up. But that's because hemp flour, like usually it has. I mean, it has
Not the
like a
best
ton
seeds.
of.
It feels
other-
so harsh. Yeah.
It's usually harsher
I
and
know,
doesn't
it is.
have as much of a
It is.
good taste. At least the ones I've tried.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
I've had some good. I have had some good. I mean, they haven't been working on the genetics for like far as long.
Mhm.
I think that's like a piece of it. And then I also think that the other piece is that it's possible, and I don't know if this is necessarily true, we'd have to see, but it's possible that when you're cultivating for like terpene secondary metabolites, you are also cultivating for enzymes that are responsible for creating other like the cyclization. Because like right now, hemp flour can't have 0.3% THC, right? I don't know. I'm not positive about that, but that'd be an interesting question of whether they were linked or not, like to developing like those more complex terpene profiles, and if somehow it's like linked to having the ability to create THC or something, or if it's just that they are still underdeveloped because they have just come from like fiber and
Right.
Yeah.
are in like that realm.
I think it's great. I mean, the 2018 Farm Bill was like the first huge like step where everyone was like, holy shit, this like might actually happen. And now like seeing hemp everywhere was really cool. Like I remember when that started to happen and I started to think we might actually see legalization in the next 10 years. And I still think so.
Yeah, I agree. What's crazy
hope
is this
so.
country was started on like hemp products. Like they had hemp mills and paper mills and stuff way before, like in the when the forefathers were like, around.
Yeah, they were all smoking that shit too.
But they farmed hemp and they used hemp for all sorts of things.
Yeah,
and,
for sure. Paper products.
and now then they got,
Clothes.
yeah.
caught up in the 1930s. They just like
Why
nothing.
I don't understand why they focus so hard on alcohol. Like, and we're like, yeah, sure.
But even
you know,
even
all right,
alcohol had
no.
its prohibition period. I mean, it was
right,
short-lived.
right. But I don't understand how that was like. Okay, let's do that, but not this. I don't know. This plant. This is. I don't know, right?
It all goes right back to racism. And
do you guys drink?
I mean, I will, but I'm not really inclined.
I don't really like to
anymore.
drink. The only time I like to drink, and it's still not even that much, is like when it's like a dancing party kind of environment.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Weddings too.
Weddings, maybe for Halloween. Sometimes, I'll have a drink or two when we're having a party, but definitely weddings. You get weddings. That was a perfect example.
Yeah, you gotta get drunk at the weddings.
You really do, though. It's like
Yeah.
they're great
Yeah.
occasion.
I'm not too fond of
But other than
Sunday
that, I'm
weddings
not a fan
because I
of
do like to
drinking.
drink at weddings. Yeah, right. You're right.
Yeah,
Do
you
Sunday
guys-
weddings are a little rough, but I don't know. It's
I genuinely think though that the problem for me with doing it is that I don't ever feel well.
Mhm.
Yeah,
never-
sometimes I skip the fun part and go straight to the shitty part. And that's why I'm like, I'd rather just not really
I can't drink and just hang
Roll the
out. I
die.
have to be like drinking and dancing. You know, like I have to be like
dancing has to happen. That's
dancing
like
has to happen. Dancing
Oh,
has to
okay.
be happening
All
if
right.
I'm drinking alcohol.
I'll come with the boombox one day and
I love that.
some drinks. Let's go. We dance all night tonight.
I feel like one of the highlights of this past summer for me is I was at my friend's bachelorette party, and we all went out, and then we were coming back, and I like go to the bathroom or something. I come out and everyone's like going like Tums, 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 pouring Tums on the table, and we're all like, "Woo, Tums!"
Woo!
Yeah,
it
man.
rain,
We're,
so
Gotta
hey,
get ahead. Gotta get ahead of that. Like,
we're at a different point in our lives. It's not the same. It's time. We
it's
celebrate it though. It's nice to be around people who celebrate that, you know?
yeah, but it's fascinating because it's it is so different as opposed to cannabis and the way that it's so regularly in our culture. Like, could you imagine like being like, oh, would you like to go to brunch? And then like when you're at brunch, everyone is wake and baking. Like you go to a brunch spot, your favorite brunch spot, and like
That's my
like
crowd.
yeah, and like instead of like endless mimosas, it's like endless little spliffs, or like or not spliffs probably because tobacco, but endless little pinners or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
or you get to choose, or it's like
That bar.
but-
No, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not into dabs, but you know, varieties of spice of
okay,
life.
I would say a dab bar is probably like the equivalent of a cocktail
Shots.
of like
Shots.
a
Right.
Shots.
Shots.
It's like shots. You're like,
Yeah, who's gonna do a dab? Let's go. I don't know.
yeah. So it's like the
I
equivalent
can't
of,
hang
like,
with dabs.
Oh,
Sorry.
I mean,
I can't do shots either.
I do like in like a concentrate pen, but I don't like a dab. Like some people go
Look.
hard on that. I don't even know if I'm doing it right.
It's like
sometimes.
impressive, and like it's embarrassing for me because I can smoke a lot of flower, but when I start doing dabs, because I never do dabs, it's like I'm like one and done. You don't want me to do two, or I'm gonna again couch like absolutely not getting up.
You guys had you had concentrate
Talk
in that
about
joint you
melting into
said
the couch.
in at BizCon or whatever.
what was that? It was crumble, right?
Those are pretty.
Yeah.
Those are nice though. Those fancy
was
fancy
crumble.
joints. Sometimes they're like dipped in wax and
yeah.
rolled in
Oh, it
teeth.
was
Fancy stuff going on. with-
Yeah, I figured why not celebrate, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
we did.
yeah, it was pretty strong.
Okay, but so like just imagine like an average person's weekend, or like not, I guess maybe not average, but like it wouldn't be outside of the average for someone to go out drinking on a Saturday night and then on Sunday go to brunch.
Recovery. Oh yeah.
Right, like
Early.
that's not like outside the average. So why would it be any different, at least in terms of like social consumption, which I think we're finally moving towards getting that here in Mass. New York approved it, like, because I think social consumption, why is it not a thing? Is it a thing in Florida?
No. It's
No,
only
'cause
medical
it's
here.
only medical here.
So
Yeah.
there's
The only
no-
time I've ever done social consumption was in Holland in the coffee shops, and you can only do it in the coffee shop, and that's it. You can't be like walking the street smoking a J.
It's because it doesn't make any sense to me, because when there's no social consumption available, then technically there's very limited places where it is legal to smoke.
Don't people in California now like smoke in parks and stuff? I feel like I think it's more open there now. It wasn't before. I think before you had to be in your privacy of your home or whatever. But I think that now it's a little more, I don't know. I may have missed.
It should just be everywhere. Like,
I should be walking the streets and just smell whiffs of cannabis all the time. I would have no problem with that. And that happens now. Like I've walked around, I'm like, something smells good. Like
Yeah.
looking around,
yeah,
trying to
we
see where that
do
comes from.
Miyabi.
Give me old. Hey.
It's so funny when you notice how who they are and like, oh, something smells good. You say it loud enough for them to hear.
I know. I
That
feel like
smells
we're gonna start sounding so old when we do that, right? We're gonna be like, something smells good. And then we're like, look at these moms. No. Remember they tried to sell us weed at a store, and when we went to the beach,
Oh, they try to sell us like Delta 8.
he was saying it was not. He was saying it was the real deal, and we were like,
Yeah,
dude, we're
okay.
medical
I
patients.
think that I honestly think most people who are consuming Delta 8 think it's Delta 9. Like,
Yeah.
completely think it's the one that's isolated from the plant. At least like I've had multiple people come up to me and they're like, which one of these like edibles is better? And I'm like, well, one's Delta 8 and one's Delta 9. So I'd pick the Delta 9, but I do think Delta 8 has a place in states where they have no other way of getting anything similar to cannabis.
Even though
products.
some states are starting to crack down on the Delta 8.
Oh, there's still a million issues with regulations and like what states are doing what, but you know, it's too bad that we can't standardize or figure it out because, you know, people with chronic pain and things like that who know that it's going to be 5 years before they have a dispensary open, if they can have Delta 8 products and that can help them, then I think that's great. But they need to be made well. They need to be clean products. And I think that's the majority of the issues with Delta 8.
And you're not going to get the same synergy as we're just talking about, like the flower and all the things that are in the flower. You don't get that combination if you use products that are like all distilled or isolated. And I've actually heard from quite a number of people that Delta 8 has a unique profile, which I thought was interesting. Like I've heard from a number of people that it has less anxiety provoking effects. This is just all qualitative. These are people on social media who are just like sharing.
I feel like it would be cool if people took a full spectrum extract that like 0.3% THC or less, and then just added in the Delta 8, and then you have that like natural synergy, but you have like, you're supplementing.
You're like MacGyvering that shit. Isn't that what you're doing?
If anyone listening to this wants to work with me,
put it together.
Have you heard of that? There's this terp beverage. Have you heard of terpene beverages?
Oh yeah,
be a sour.
Yeah, the little shots.
Yeah.
Little.
Is that like? Would you do a hack with a Delta 8 and some of those terpene beverages?
Honestly, they should think about it. It might be interesting.
That would be a pretty cool little science project.
A little experiment.
Listen, I gotta remind myself to send you this. Somebody reached out to us. Oh, it's like this company. I couldn't understand how. It's like they're taking THC without having to grow the plant. Have you heard of anything like this?
Yeah, they're
like
probably
with
doing
yeast?
bio. Yeah.
Yeah, like
yeast?
biogenetics and shit.
No, what is it called? Biosynthesis, yeah? Or wait. So they give the microorganism like yeast, or I think yeast is like the main one, but you can do it with any microorganism technically.
Yeah, so like the plant has the genes to make the molecules, right? So the plant has a gene to make THC, or a few genes to make THC. So they literally cut out those genes from the plant and insert those genes into a yeast. And then the yeast is just going about its day, like making all these gene products. And all of a sudden they know how to make THC, and they're literally producing THC in a flask.
Yeah, it's like a DNA. Okay, so they give it a DNA to make like, I would say like an assembly line. Almost like, so the yeast cells, which are grown in a flask and are actually very like
the plant, bro.
No, but this is fucking fascinating. Please,
it's really cool, but like I don't know about consuming.
But I mean, even just the idea of a breakthrough like that, something like that, even being possible.
But they've done that a lot with other. They've done that plenty of times.
Right? Yeah, they've done it with grape.
Oh, they've done this with a million drugs. But I think the coolest thing about all of this to me is that the actual cannabinoids have antimicrobial properties, so they can kill yeast to some degree. So if you let the cannabinoids like build up too much in the flask, it will actually kill off the yeast that made them.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
I see. That is amazing.
So as long as they isolate the cannabinoids from the mixture and clean them properly, it will be no different when it's isolated. Like the molecules, like isolate to isolate, will be no different. Like in terms of like CBD
Wow.
isolate or THC isolate. The difference between that and the plant is that the plant has like 300 plus 400 molecules.
Yeah, like I don't like isolates. I don't ever like dab and just do straight up THC or straight up, I just
No.
straight smoke flower. That's it.
And I think that this
Flower.
this route with like biosynthesis will be useful in the future for formulations where people are formulating and creating like tons, because it's very energy efficient
Yeah,
as
that
opposed
makes
to the
sense.
plant. But I don't think it's ever going to replace the plant. Like
No, not at all. But like,
But for
I
isolates,
feel like
makes
that shit's
sense.
gonna be, that's gonna be nutrition industry. Hello.
That's insane.
They're gonna totally cash in on that shit.
It's
Oh,
actually
absolutely.
like it's done for a lot of other things. This like type of like harnessing small organisms to create other products is something that humans have done for a while now. Usually we do it with proteins, but I think that like living things are capable of making molecules that are really really complicated. Like that's why penicillin was discovered from a living thing. It's a really complicated molecule. It's like more difficult for us to make it in a test tube than the
Yeah,
way
it would be
is
like a 20-step synthesis for us to make it, which would be extremely difficult. Or we can just have the actual organism make it, or take the genes from the organism, and it's actually a lot simpler. And for like cannabis products, I don't think like THC, CBD, CBN, like the more abundant cannabinoids, I don't think those will mainly be used for engineering. I think it's going to be more of like the minor cannabinoids that we find a really cool use for them for some disease or ailment, and then we start kind of mass producing them via yeast, and then we can actually have like enough of the actual final product that it's worth it. Whereas the plant, it's like you'd have to grow millions of plants to get enough of just that one compound. But if so many people are using it for other things, it'd be hard to just get that much of a minor cannabinoid.
it's kind
Yeah,
of like
you guys kind of talk about that being like long-term goals for cannabis is to try to identify all the different cannabinoids and how they help people differently, and how you guys can like how science can reuse those for different treatments depending on how it helps people.
Yeah, and like ratios of the ones that we already know. So like figuring out exactly what one cannabinoid does, but also figuring out what a 5-to-1 ratio of CBC to CBN, like what does that do? I don't know. It could have benefits that we have just no idea of right now.
Yeah, I feel like my opinion on this is just so like I very very strongly believe that mixed like complex mixtures have benefits that we don't understand yet. And I think that I totally agree that I'm excited to see what all the rare cannabinoids do on their own as well. But that I think that there's so much that we have left to discover about how all of them interact, like in a panel, maybe is like what, or I guess if you use color theory, you think about it as like colors and like how whenever you mix a color, it's a very like you go to a color at a paint, buy paint from a paint store and you mix the colors. It's like a very specific combination of everything to make like a very specific color, and that each of us also is very different. So
I was
that's
just gonna
another,
say,
yeah.
how do you connect
It's
those
like
two pieces?
compounding medicine too.
It's both,
Compound.
exactly. We have to understand the differences in ourselves, and then we have to understand the differences within the plant. And I think it's gonna be a really really exciting time, and it's like shaping up to be that way because we're actually able to get the information that we need. There's so much information out there in people using cannabis products. Like we are all like living through our own little experiments
Mm-hmm.
all the time with this. And I think that like it'll be close when we are able to like actually draw conclusions to that when things become like
And just have a way of
more simple.
recording the data. I mean, we've been smoking weed forever, like
Yeah.
literally forever. But like, you know, nobody's actually started to create apps and journals and ways to record this and share with each other and share with
Strategy.
scientists and share with all of these people. And we're finally coming out with the technology. So it's going to be extremely cool to see, you know, as we have the tools to profile cannabis better and understand exactly what compounds are in the flower that you're using or the product that you're using. And then understanding how that connects with how you feel and if your symptoms are alleviated from a certain disease. And then how you can connect those pieces to figure out why does that strain work so well with your body for this purpose. And then we can start to draw conclusions slowly over time with enough people recording their data.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, you have to make it so that people want to do that. Like you like it's not even as simple as like creating something that people can use. Like you have to be like driven and see a real result from that. And sometimes the real result will not come for a really long time. Like, you know, like how long did it take you to learn what type of weed you like to smoke? Like years sometimes. I mean, it depends on how strategic
And it
your
changes
yes, totally. And it can change. So
as
you
your
have to
color
start
changes.
and as your types of stresses and days change,
Mm-hmm.
as like and you start realizing the different things that you need
Mm-hmm.
out of the plant and those types of things. Like I always come back to this parallel with alcohol, which I know is not always they're not equal to each other, they're different, but in a parallel to alcohol, people get so much experience with alcohol that you learn what you like and what you don't like. You learn what types of things you want in what certain situations that you want them in. Like it'll be different to have a glass of red wine at the end of the day with dinner than it is to have like shots of tequila on at someone's party or going out with someone. Like those are things that you learn over experience, and people get them by just like by having so much experience with it. And I think with cannabis, everyone has this like idea that we should just automatically know what's going to happen, when that's holding it to a standard that we don't hold other things to, really, for that
Mm-hmm.
matter. It's like, but yeah, trying to figure out how to like make that process faster is a big challenge that we've been talking a lot about. Now, I don't know if there's a true answer other than at this point trial and error.
And
Like
incentivizing people to do anything is incredibly difficult, which I'm sure teachers are just like, yeah, that's my everyday. But
You
I
give
mean,
them free weed. Like if it's like you develop an app that has all the surveys, all the information you need them to complete, right? And you'd be like, you sign up for this study, we'll give you, I don't know, a quarter a week, I don't know, whatever the
A
budget
clinical
is,
trial, if you
right?
will.
And the only thing you have to do is you have to smoke what we give you and log your experience every night or whatever you guys decide.
But doesn't everybody's body reacts differently to the
But
different
that's, yeah, but
things?
you also have to get a medical profile or like a bio profile of each person.
or
Like,
you could just have them, you're just like, smoke whatever weed you want, but like, you have to know something about it to like log into the thing. But then
yeah,
you're just incentivizing people to just do it. Like, no matter where they get it, whatever, they just need to fill it out. And if you say, okay, well, you filled this out 8 times this month, so I'm gonna send you 8 gummies for free. Like it, like
oh,
you know, like, and we
yes.
got like dispensaries to go in on it, like for the sake of science. No, they'd probably want something else, but yeah.
I think even just, I don't know, I would do it. I would do it.
to contribute to science to cannabis
We got
research.
one
Like
person.
It's,
N equals 1.
yes. Smoking weed for science.
There's
But
they did a really cool study recently on that, where it was like a voluntary study with psychedelics and with cannabis, and it basically showed that okay, well, they did like 3 different levels of cannabis use during a psychedelic experience, and it showed that cannabis helped like decrease a lot of the negative pieces of the psychedelic trips in the low and moderate dose, but in the high dose of cannabis, it like made it way worse
It
in
heightens
terms of
it.
like anxiety and that kind of thing. But it was interesting. It was entirely self-reported. So like everyone, and they got a decent number of people to do it, and I was just interested in it because I was like, that sounds like a really
I want to know
interesting-
how that started. Like who designed that study, and were they just like,
Tell them to reach out to us.
I mean,
I'm
but really,
interested,
I would
yeah.
love to be part of one.
Yeah, and also just to be able to like the whole edibles thing, the fact that you can't feel edibles, I did not know that that existed before TikTok.
I
Like
knew
I
because that's always been my life.
yeah, but
Everybody's
but-
always having fun with me. We've eaten stuff, and she's been like, "Oh God, I just have
like,
to smoke already." I'm like,
I'm so
"Okay,
ripped.
just
And I'm like,
smoke."
you're like, damn it.
why?
Which honestly,
And I'm so jealous because people always say it's such a different experience.
my tolerance has changed though, and I don't know if that's even a thing because it's not the same. You remember I had 100 milligrams at one time on the beach, and I was like,
Oh my
"Whoa, outer space!"
Oh my
Now,
God.
100 milligrams at once.
Yeah.
Oh, I would.
I 100
last time
milligrams
I-
at once, nothing happened. She ate it and she was like,
Yeah, and but never again. I've eaten 150. I've had eaten
I think
500 milligrams, and
because
it's
those
like,
are like homemade.
but yeah, right. But it depends.
Sometimes maybe they're not gauging
It's
it right.
so inconsistent for me that it's like annoying to the
It
fact that like
honestly-
I don't even want to do it sometimes.
It might be also like the way that your body is metabolizing the fats or like digesting or absorbing the fats because
Right,
we
but
don't
it's
always do that. Like the
Which
same
is like
way.
right would be timing, but it's like, oh my God,
So much
you know,
to think about.
right? Like,
There's so much
I have to
planning.
wait till after I eat because I'm already have fat in my system. So that, and then it's like, but then it doesn't. It's weird. It's really weird because sometimes it's like,
Whatever. Anyways, we all know that smoking is the best way.
even though it's not. I mean, there's also negative
Yeah,
parts
of
the
course.
smoking.
There is, of course, that you're inhaling smoke and putting it into your
Right.
body.
I hate to constantly be like, smoking is the greatest, but there's other parts that are like,
It's just my
I know
method.
it sucks because these two questions that both Miyabi and I both get are, what's your favorite consumption method, and what age is it okay to start smoking? And both of us have like the same but terrible answers to this.
It's not
Like,
a terrible
we both
answer,
love
it's just
smoking
that-
J's, and we both started smoking weed way too young, so we're just like, we're not going to talk about it.
Well, I can't tell someone not to do. I can't be in like a direct contradiction to like my personal experience. So we just like shut up and don't say anything about it. But in terms of smoking, like it's clear that there's been a lot of links to like negative aspects to it. It's also like there's very limited research in the positive aspects of it, even though a majority of people prefer smoking.
Mhm.
And that's actually what we do. So that's like kind of like where I think like I would be really interested, and not just cannabis, but like everything. Like there's tons of medicinal uses for smoke just in general in traditional medicines and like all over and I think that I'm not saying that there's no negatives there because they totally exist, but in terms of like the amount of money and the amount of funding and the amount of research and the lens with which we've looked through these things, it's interesting because there is still no conclusive link between cannabis smoke and negative effects. There's a lot of links that people have found. I don't think there's any clear, to me, I haven't seen like definitive and clear links to like the same, I guess, of the same clarity or level as tobacco smoke or cigarettes.
Carcinogens
agree.
are not the same. It's not hurting your lungs the same as like taking in tobacco.
but there's
smoke.
still tar in it.
Yeah.
So it's still there, but it's the total mixture. So
It's
like
more
even
natural.
well, no, like it's just that like even though there are still negative molecules present, the cannabinoids that are present and the other molecules in the cannabis plant that are present have a different interaction when everything is taken like together
Uh-huh.
as a total formulation. At least that's what I've thought as like a opinion, and that I've seen in other like pieces of opinions of like the theorizing why cannabis smoke is different, because it does still have negative components that are present in it. But there's these other molecules that are very, very different from tobacco that has nicotine versus the cannabinoids, in like ratios, like the amounts of things that are present.
Plus whatever they else mix in there with the tobacco when they make their little
That's
cigarettes.
also true.
That's a good point. And I think every consumption method has pros and cons, like realistically. So it's kind of like weighing your options. And personally, like I like to switch it up sometimes. Like I do have a dryer vape. I'll sometimes use pens. I'll sometimes dab. I like to smoke a lot. I enjoy edibles, but I don't usually do like all the same thing for a very long time. Although I definitely smoke joints more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, I saw this recently at the store and I was like, what the fuck is this all about? A CBD candle? What the fuck does that do? It says like 80 milligrams of CBD. And I'm like, what? In a candle?
The aroma? I don't know.
How does that doesn't work, right? That's like fucking.
What's the point?
They say the placebo effect's pretty strong sometimes. So maybe it's like
I was like, what?
How would
it was
that
like
work?
80 milligrams infused candle. And I was just
Are you
like,
pouring the
what?
wax on your body and like?
I was just gonna say.
that's actually pretty smart.
Sexy
Like,
time.
yeah.
When you're,
Or,
some
like-
people like to pour wax.
No, I don't
Why
think
not?
it's. You think
No.
that's how you do that? No, in a candle.
mean-
How else would you get?
I
the
think it's a
CBD?
gimmick. I think they were like, "Oh, we're gonna sell the
This is-
CBD. Everybody loves
I want to
CBD.
test that candle. I want to see if there really is CBD in it.
That candle's
Okay,
How would you
honestly-
even test it?
You would have to like stand over it and like inhale the air from the entire candle.
For what? That's crazy.
And that like does not sound enjoyable at all.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Like,
No,
wow.
I feel like in the pros and cons too. Like if you're switching it up, you develop less of a tolerance, in my opinion.
Yes. You guys
that
talked about that
I've
tolerance
noticed.
breaks and doing that, just changing your THC like percentage or how often you smoke, or people also say like switch up the terpene profile, like switch strains and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
think
I feel like who has just one strain and just only smokes once? Like, how can you do that? I don't even think anybody could do that.
I think a lot of people do that.
Really, one strain and that's all they smoke ever, forever and
sometimes,
ever.
like,
Oh
when
no,
for
no, no,
medicinal
not
purpose-
forever. Sorry, I thought you meant like at a time.
Oh yeah, no,
Like-
I definitely have like 3 different strains.
Yeah, I
on,
have
on
3. I have at
rotation,
least
like,
3
at a time.
different strains on deck. That bougie? Is that like we're sweets now?
No, I think everyone in this
spoiled.
conversation probably does, but I'm saying
Spoiled, but in non-legal states, like it's
I know.
not that easy.
Right.
You get what you get.
I know.
And or if you aren't positive that you're going to like go through it in that amount of time and you don't want to like waste anything, or like, I don't know. I feel like I feel like changing up strain to strain is less in terms of like tolerance, it's like less helpful than changing up method.
I agree. I mean, like the reason you're mainly building tolerance is like the THC is interacting with your brain, and you need to like you know, if you overdo it for too long, you might want to just either reel it back a little. You can still use THC, but maybe not as much, or some people like to just stop cold turkey for a while. Switching up the strains might help, I would think, because there's different amounts of THC in the different strains, and some terpenes could interact with those receptors in some way that could contribute as well. But I think it's mainly THC percentage that we're wanting to think about. And, the different consumption methods, I think, helps a lot. Just, edibles, when we take in that edible, our liver will transform THC to a different molecule called 11-hydroxy-THC. And that one combined a little more tightly in your brain. But I still think that changing up your methods is the best way. And I think I don't use as much when I switch up, because I forget like how much edible do I need? I'm just going to take a little bit. Then I go back to smoking and I'm like, all right, just smoke a J. I don't.
I can never like just
So
eat an
nice to have
edible
the
and
edible
just
option.
Yeah, but I can't even just eat an edible and be like, okay, let's wait
It's like,
for this
when's
to
it gonna
happen.
kick
It's
in?
like, okay,
Let's see.
I'll eat a
It's
couple
a
a couple
surprise.
gummies here, and just like Dr. Riley, and I'll go smoke a little 2 hours later.
I feel like I naturally, like subconsciously, just do my own kind of like tolerance breaks in my own way. Like all of a sudden, I'll just find myself smoking less. I'm less like drawn to go and go smoke, or pack a bowl or
Probably
whatever.
the
I might go
healthiest
longer
way
today, and
be
it's not
tolerance
like I'm
break.
intentionally like I'm going to go on a tolerance break for the next few days. I just noticed, oh, this week I haven't been smoking as much. I've only had like a couple bowls towards the end of the day, and that's it.
Yeah, and I think if your body's like really used to using a lot of THC and then you just suddenly stop for 2 weeks, I think that can be harmful for your brain. I think stopping anything like that your body's used to can be harmful. So if you're like a heavy THC cannabis user, I think it's smart to kind of like take it slow and just like wean off of it for a few days if you want to just stop cold turkey.
Or
Or
like
you just
taper with the hemp or CBD or
yeah, taper with
CBG, right?
hemp. Make salads with hemp and high THC products, or just half the amount that you're smoking. You can still smoke, just use half as much. Just you don't everything doesn't need to be as black and white, like tolerance break or no tolerance break. It's like you can just like use less for a little bit. Give your brain a little bit of time to recoup and then go back for it if you want to.
I only quit cold turkey like twice in my life. Once I moved out of country, moved into another country.
You were forced.
I did not have access.
Right.
And
What country?
I was in a
You were
military
forced
post.
every
My
time.
husband was in the army, and we lived in Germany for 2.5 years. So like for like a while until I got comfortable living there, and like I felt like it was my home. I wasn't smoking or doing any access, but then I was driving in the Netherlands like once a month to get like a big stash so that I could just have it.
That's awesome.
So that was the only time I quit cold turkey. And then when I got pregnant, I just stopped. I just stopped smoking.
Wow. Fair enough.
9 months, 10 months technically, because I waited like a month after, because we tried breastfeeding. That is a topic that we would like. You're always asking, what would you guys want you guys to talk about on your show? I know we get questions from moms all the time about what research is available about cannabis during pregnancy, like cannabis use during pregnancy, or how it passes to the fetus, and like breast milk, because there's a lot of women that use cannabis and breastfeed. So I know that they say that naturally our breast milk already has endocannabinoids in it, and I don't know how much, if any, THC transfers. Like what studies? I don't feel like there's a lot of studies or research on that. Right. You would think now with so many states having it medically and recreationally legal, there's been an increase in pregnant women using cannabis. So like how come there's not more movement there and research? Is it too taboo to research that?
The pregnancy for sure. Anybody pregnant, nobody wants to touch pregnant women for any kind of research.
A pregnant woman doesn't want to admit and like go on record.
Right.
I was just going to say that.
Because they're worried about them taking their kids away.
Exactly. Right now it's all anecdotal too. It's just women sharing information with each other. And just everybody sharing because how hard is it? I mean, there's not that many research. That's not that much research out there, period, let alone like pregnant ladies. Like everybody just don't take
breast
it.
Milk.
Don't
That's
take
another
it.
big question is the breast milk.
Right.
Right. And then the subsequent question after that is, does it matter? Or what happens if it does cross into the breast milk, if it does like during different
how does
parts
it affect
of pregnancy,
the baby?
how does it affect the baby? How does it affect your child? That's a really complicated question, but I think we could look into,
there has to be something, even if it's just like, I know that I've seen articles about it, like, oh, this study says that, blah, 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 blah. But I've never like, I don't know how research those studies are. Like,
it's not like a peer reviewed, like,
is it just like 50 women that they surveyed, or was it 100?
Well, I think we could go through. I think we could go through and look for it. I think there's at least a couple literature pieces we could pick up. I'm not positive if they're done in humans or not, which is they might be done in animal model, which means that we can't like, you could draw some conclusions, but you can't like
Yeah.
say
Definitive.
things.
And I mean, a lot of physicians, even if we had a few pieces of research that said it might be healthy, I think for mothers to use cannabis, I think most physicians would still say we don't have enough research, even if we had 10 peer-reviewed papers that say, yep, this seems to not affect things. But at the end of that paper, they're going to write, because it's science. They're not going to say anything's conclusive. They're going to say more research needs to be done to this topic, blah, blah, blah. Like it's not going to be finalized for such a long time because it's such a delicate topic. Doing animal studies is, obviously extremely expensive, and just researching THC, anything THC related, is still difficult. And then, yeah, learning from humans. I mean, and women that are willing to participate in that, a scientist who's willing to conduct that study. It's going to be a lot of time, effort, money, and compliance from a lot of people to complete that. But we don't have the research. I think we might have an animal study, but even so, I don't think we have any conclusive evidence either way. But I mean, we know smoking in general during pregnancy could lead to lower birth weights in the child, right? So we know that's a risk with the actual act of smoking. But we don't know. I think a worry could be if that THC crosses the placenta or reaches the baby in some way. If the ratio of that THC in the system with that developing endocannabinoid system, if that could somehow change the dynamics, that could later lead to something like clinical endocannabinoid deficiency, CED, or something like that throws off the balance. I think those are the questions we'll need to answer in the future. But unfortunately, like women obviously get very nauseous and sick while they're pregnant, especially in the first trimester. So, the drugs that they're taking to help with that nausea, and how much of those drugs they're taking. In some conditions, women need to be hospitalized because they're feeling so sick. Could cannabis help those women and prevent that hospitalization or that over intake of medication during that time? Again, that's a question we're going to need to answer. Like, what is the risk benefit analysis here? And that's something physicians and scientists and everyone needs to work together on coming to an answer with all these variables with pregnant women, pregnant people.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the questions we get the most. Get a lot. We get
it's like, I didn't consume when I was pregnant. That was it was easy for me to stop because I had already, had a miscarriage with my first. So I was just so excited to be pregnant again. I just wanted the baby to be healthy and I didn't want to take any risks whatsoever. But for some women, like you said, that have I didn't have any morning sickness. Right, I didn't get any nausea. And there's some women that really suffer from that. And some of the drugs are being prescribed. They're probably not any better for the baby and the mom. And sometimes they don't even work. Right.
Or the mom just doesn't want them too. Yep. Like it should be her option to also not have to choose from being extremely debilitatingly nauseous or taking these drugs that she doesn't want to take.
Mm-hmm. And then there's also with postpartum depression, like it's helped a lot of women after giving birth with that, and you're breastfeeding too. So that's where the concern comes there. Like, is it going to transfer? They do the whole pump and dump with alcohol. Can't really do that the same with cannabis, I would think.
It stays in your system for longer. The metabolites do. I don't know if they I don't know if the metabolites come over, and if they did, if they would be active. But yeah, I think the other thing that in terms of like studies that have been, I remember seeing a study now that I'm thinking about it, where they linked cannabis smoking, not even during, I don't know if it was during pregnancy or if it was both during and then during breastfeeding, but they linked it to potential, like, I think it was attention deficits or like potential future like attention deficits or mental health. And one thing that I think is complicated, it's something that Riley was mentioning about how we don't know, this is definitely true, we don't know how these molecules would affect a developing brain and then like what that would then turn into in your kids. On the flip side, generally speaking, people who use cannabis heavily or use it regularly, specifically for mental health, potentially already have the like other markers or other factors that may be passed down. It's just there's so many nuances that are just like, the correlation versus causation of a lot of these things has yet to be fully mapped out. I think that that's something that I remember reading through the study and thinking that it was interesting. I think it was I would have to look it up again so that we could like actually go through exactly like what the criteria was that were being met. And
Well, the endocannabinoid system's also involved in like literally everything in our body. So like
right.
how do we actually draw the conclusion of, this person's experiencing this and when they're this age, how do we know it was because of that when they were
Their
a
mom smoked
neonate or when
weed
they were
and
in their
grew up.
mother's womb?
Right. They do these like mass like statistical analysis, like big population analyses, which is not like really my specialty at all. So I want to would want to like look more into them. But how they do it is they just take these giant populations of people and then they make correlations from these like really, really big populations. And I think that data it does tell you something, but I just am, it's to me, there's still other pieces like what Riley's saying, that there's pieces of puzzles that
Mhm.
have to be put together. And I think it's really easy and simple to say like, cause yeah, I think it's clear that in terms of like a complete reduction of harm or like absence of harm, like it's clear that like there's no risk to doing nothing, but there are to some people. Like for some people, doing nothing does come with an inherent risk because they either have, like we we're mentioning, like hyperemesis where they're nauseous and throwing up and they have that risk, or if, like postpartum's a big risk, like not being able to like bond, and like also happiness and mental health is
Oh
physical
my
health.
God, breastfeeding is so traumatizing too. Like,
It takes a toll on your mental health
It's-
when it's not
yeah.
going as you thought it would. You thought it would be an easy thing.
Yeah, it's
oh,
like-
you have the baby, you stick it on your boob, and
right.
everything's
Everybody
good.
makes it seem like,
and
oh,
it's not
you're
always
built
that
for
easy.
this.
And
You're
then you start
supposed to do
feeling
this.
guilty that you're doing
Yeah.
something wrong.
Weed would come in handy for a lot. I started smoking sooner after my second, and I was still pumping and stuff. I mean, I wasn't smoking a lot, but I was, smoking a little
Once I finally came to terms that I wasn't going to be able to successfully breastfeed, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to go formula.
bit.
And I smoked again for the first time. Let me tell you, though,
Refreshing.
it was so much easier to bond. Feeding my child was a stressful experience every time I tried to
It
do
helps
it.
with not being guilty, not feeling so guilty about
it helped
not
with
being
the
able to
guilt.
breastfeed.
Exactly.
Honestly.
It definitely helped me with that. I don't think if I would have not started using cannabis, the guilt probably would have just consumed me, and it would have just gotten worse.
Right. Yeah. I could testify to that too. Same boat.
Right. So that's like an incredibly powerful thing to be able to move past so that you can start your relationship with your kids and
Yeah.
like in a really healthy way. So to me, it's all about this like cost versus benefit, risk versus reward. And I don't know that we know enough, and that I guess I don't know. Also, like not a medical professional, so and don't
Right.
have kids, so I don't know firsthand any of these. But from what I hear from a lot of moms and from what I see, is that there's possibility of benefit there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
For
huge
sure.
benefit.
I've definitely received a ton of DMs from, women, new moms or pregnant people just being like, hey, like, do you think this is okay overall? Like, unbiased, like, just let me know. Do you think? And I'm like, I don't know what to tell
Yeah.
you.
I'm a doctor, but not that kind of doctor.
Yeah.
Not that kind of doctor.
And even if we were, we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like that's because I mean it's
I feel like if it's helping you and it's in moderation, I don't think that's just my opinion though. Like, I don't think it would be harmful. If it's something that's helping you sleep, helping you keep food down so that your baby can gain weight, like if it's helping you in that way and it's not like you're like overly consuming, you're just trying to get
you're not
high all
just
day.
right.
And it's really being done for-
intentions, right? What
It's
are
all
your
about the intention
intentions
behind it.
Yeah.
And as you said, moderation, I think almost anything would be okay in moderation, but just as humans, we have a really hard time moderating ourselves sometimes. But I mean, if you truly were using it and just just enough to relieve those symptoms of like that could be extremely stressful on your body. Yeah, I think that's a decision that you have to make and just weigh out your options and make the best decision for you and your baby. And that's it.
Yep, it's a tough one.
I was just like, both of us like non-answer answers.
I
don't want to be quoted on like.
Is there any
I know.
no, well, I didn't expect you guys to have the answers, but like if you knew of any research being done or even trying to be done or anything in that regard, because you do see these articles coming out about like more pregnant women are consuming cannabis more than ever. Da, 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 da. So you would think that they would start hopefully looking.
I have a really cool study in my head for this, but I'm nowhere near in a position to run a trial of this. But I think it'd be really cool. THCA, like the acidic version of THC before you decarb it, that is shown to have really good antiemetic, so it helps you from vomiting like uncontrollably. It has really good antiemetic effects, but it's not psychoactive. And that the difference between THC and THCA makes it less likely to like cross the placenta. It makes it less fatty. So I think experimenting with THCA as an antiemetic option for pregnant people would be very interesting. So if anybody wants to work with us on this, that would be great.
Yes.
Listeners.
Anyone who's interested. Yeah, and THCA activates the serotonin system, which I think is special interest of mine is how the serotonin system and the endocannabinoid system work together. And nausea is one of the big things that they control together, or that they each control separately, but like contribute to.
Can you eat THCA?
Yeah.
You
can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically just like the raw.
It's like just eating the flour, right?
Flour.
Yeah, you would literally be eating flour.
Like, let me put flour in my smoothie. Bzz, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean,
people who do cryo like ethanol extraction, like cold, like anything cold extraction would be done. Would be pulling out THCA.
I've actually seen. I don't think it was in a dispenser. Maybe it was in a dispenser. I don't know. It was a product that was like. It was a tincture, but like purposely not decarb, like purposely not activated. Like it had all the acidic versions of all the cannabinoids in it. And like the guy was, saying it was special for XYZ, but I was just like, that's a really interesting niche product.
I have a tincture that's made by a friend that's like dominant THCA, and I love it.
Really? Cool.
I really, it is a very different. I wouldn't say that it's not psychoactive, but it's like it's far, far less than like it's very different, I guess. Rather, I would say it's just very, very different. But
cool.
It's interesting. I mean, I would, if you haven't tried it, I would like say it's. I think it's always worth trying all the rare cannabinoids, because I that's my person. It's just personally so interesting, but they all have something to offer, in my opinion. They're all very unique.
Have you tried CBC?
Not by itself, no.
Yeah, me either.
CBC.
Add that to the list. Bucket list.
I know somebody a while back ago, we had just talked about, like, we were starting to talk about Delta 8. Somebody was like, Delta 10. And we were like, oh my God, what? Okay.
You're done.
You're done. Yeah.
So how do you guys like the podcasting life now that you have your own Smoke and Science? I gotta say, I love the format, like that you have a topic and it's conversational where you guys are talking about the topic, but then you have the chime-ins where you like elaborate on certain things. I was like, that is so cool. Like, how do you go about like putting an episode together? Do you guys like pick a topic, record together, and then listen to it later to do in those you write those?
Well, first of all, shout out to Miyabe, because Miyabe does literally all the editing and they're amazing at it.
So good.
And the music, the intro music and stuff, that's all Miyabe.
The music is not me. The music is my wife. But
Lane.
But, yeah, the music is Lane. But yeah, I do the editing for the.
The production is so good. It sounds great. I love it.
Yeah, but we are so unorganized with like topics and stuff. We'll just be
yeah, we
like,
got it.
man, what do you want to what do you want to talk about this week?
Well,
And then
we're
we'll just be like,
planning,
oh, this is a good, or like, oh, we should have this person as a guest. Okay, so we should do this topic to fit that guest. Like, it's kind of just what is relevant at the time, what we feel like doing, but we're kind of doing like a little revamp where we're going to try to get really organized and actually have a method to the madness. So hopefully in the future it'll be a little bit more, it'll make a little more sense what order we do things in.
And when we look into, we will be in touch when we look into doing something on pregnancy and moms.
Yes.
Hey man,
we
I mean,
love
I
it.
feel like it's podcasting is it's like an evolution because you have to start somewhere. So the beginning episodes may not be what
our
it
first
turns
episodes do
into.
not sound like what our episodes
No,
now are.
and
It
you
evolves, it
try
changes.
It's so weird.
You try
It's so
different
weird.
things. It's fun though because you have you could do different. I don't know. Yeah, you can
know
test
what's,
different segments out or whatever, like whatever you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's really fun about it is not worrying about being censored.
Yes, you can
Yeah.
say and go on
I know
as long as you want.
See, but this is the thing.
You can curse.
Yes. But first of all, I would love to get into the world of video podcasting. It's just like, what kind of editing would that go and with the cameras, right? So it's like,
It's a whole other level.
right. You want to do more every time, you want to get more, but where are you going to find your audience? You can't just make a podcast and think that people are going to just magically show up and listen. You
their
have to
audience came from TikTok.
Right. But you have to constantly be recruiting more people.
That's why we made our TikTok, to literally promote our
Yeah.
podcast. That's
that was really
I mean,
smart.
it was like a supplement because, we would go on lives and then be like, hey, go follow our Instagram, like be more connected with us. And that way, they take TikTok away, which they fucking did.
so sad.
Wait, can you like join, just like restart an account?
We could, yeah.
I mean-
but we can't use our same name. The name's gone.
Right.
You
We
have to be like Pot Smoking Moms 2.
Right.
OG.
Yeah, some bullshit.
The sequel.
Yeah.
That is so
Or it could just be
annoying.
PSM
I'm sorry that
But and
happened.
you know what? And rebuilding is really frustrating too because you don't
Yeah.
catch those same waves and you lose interest. And I'm just like, I hate the pressure of it too because you want to do it, you want to keep your thing active, but it's like then you have
Dude,
to
how do some
forward.
people post like 6 times a day?
I don't understand.
I'm trying my damnedest to get one out every like
Okay.
3 days.
But those are usually like little silly little posts. What you guys create is like top-notch content with great
Right.
information, formatted and explained in a perfect manner. Like that takes a lot of time to, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of time
you
for
add
to put it
value.
together.
Yeah.
It's not just
educational.
like, a little lip sync to a trend or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look fun. Like
They are
I've
fun.
tried. I've made my attempt at those ones, but they don't turn out that good. No, so in that realm, I like podcasting because I like that aspect of like putting like more detail into it because I feel like 60 seconds is short. Also, 60 seconds is long for a TikTok. It really should be in the 40-second range, right? Like,
totally agree. And like I always say, like, we are trying to give educational information, but we're not going to just drop like a crazy amount of science with no background. It's so much easier in a podcast when you can be like, all right, like, let me introduce the subject, why this is important, how this relates to cannabis, blah, blah, blah. And then you can finally get into the nitty gritty. TikTok, it's like, hey, let me tell you about this extremely niche thing in 30 seconds. And it's a lot more difficult than having the time to like properly explain it and go into the details. And then Miyabe has such a different perspective than I do. So I get to get their perspective and listeners do too. And it's a lot more dynamic than just TikTok and like your face. And that's it.
I've only had the opportunity to hear the first 2 episodes because I don't get to listen to podcasts that often. It's only like when I drive, and I work from home, so I don't drive that much anymore. And like when I take a shower, the only time I have to myself, that's not work or with my child. So, but don't do that. Don't take away the chime thing. I love that little like chime in where you like elaborate on something you just discussed and then you chime back out and it comes right back to the conversation.
That really started on accident because we kept forgetting to say things. And then we were like, we need a way to like beep in.
It's like, it's like you have a natural conversation, but then you have like little scripted parts where you just kind of like come in and give like further information on that, whatever that subject.
Production value.
It's good. I like it.
It makes it so we can like mess up.
Like, I know editing. Listen, podcasting is great too because of editing.
We do mess up.
We do mess up. Yeah, like doing something and being like, oh wait, what? Riley goes blah.
Oh yeah, my reflex is just to go blah.
So we have like a million takes where we'll be talking and then blah.
It's like a reset. It's a palate.
I say the word absolutely all the time. Like Miyabe will say something and I'll be like, absolutely. But like 10 sentences in a row. And I'm like, oh, damn it. Listening to it. I'm like, this is so annoying to listen to me talk.
So now I'm instructed to cut out
the absolutely.
What I
cut out one out of every two.
Listen, you know what could help? Well, you know what could help? I used to do that when I started working at a call center. I started sounding like Ace Ventura. I would say, alrighty then. I don't know why. I started saying alrighty then. And I heard myself like the recorded and I was just like, oh, it was cringy as fuck.
Super cringy.
So what they did, they wrote out a bunch of other substitute words and I kept it in front of me. So anytime I had the urge to say alrighty then, I would like look at my list of words. And
I'm doing that. I'm going to do that for sure.
I mean, it might probably work, you know?
That's a really good idea. I need to do that because I've realized that there are certain words that we try to avoid or that each of us was saying that we avoid. And my word that I avoid saying is normal. I don't like calling anything normal because I don't think anything is normal. Like I don't think any human, I don't think any human is normal.
Yeah, like what is normal? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And then Riley says Riley wants to avoid the word obviously.
I hate the word obviously.
And
I like when people are like, obviously there's, this many planets. It's like, that is not obvious to a lot of people. Like, don't use that word.
I totally agree. And now I'm like hyper vigilant and hyper aware of when I say obviously like so much. But it's been, it's been
obviously.
No, but it's been interesting. I'm enjoying it so far. I think we're planning on doing a little thought of like going back and looking at the ones we've done so far and then evolving into this was like test run and then we're going to try and do a serious set where we plan out a little more.
And it's very convenient because we already video chat multiple times a week. So now we're just recording it and uploading it. So it's effort to do it. It's a ton of effort for Miyabe to actually, edit it and make it something that's enjoyable to listen to. But as far as planning out the content, that's not too much work because we tend to go on tangents too of things that we find the most relevant, which at first we were kind of trying to prevent. But then we were like, this is why people are listening to the podcast. We can embrace this to an extent as long as we stay relatively in the same domain that we were trying to. And that's been kind of cool to be able to take those tangents.
As long as we can steer back eventually to whatever topic we were originally on, which sometimes doesn't happen. And we're just like, how did we even get here?
Like the first time we recorded with you guys and we took 2.5 hours and you're like, this is way too long.
But you've gotten better at bringing it back to go on the tangent.
Man, that shit is practice though. That is
to what you were talking about. But back to the
major call control.
Yeah.
Major,
You did it quite a few times during this interview actually really well.
Yeah.
I was like, they brought it back to what
you guys are starting to be very professional.
They are professionals.
It's
Oh my gosh.
yeah, you guys, it's a knock out of the park, and I mean, it's just gonna be fun to hear it evolve and hear you guys evolve. It's all this. It's exciting because you get to see other people too entering the industry, and like you get to see them grow too. So
This is a really exciting time to be like into cannabis because it's like right in the cusp of becoming legal, and it's just starting to really blow up and branch out. And I just love how genuine you guys are about like we're two scientists that not only got your degrees and your doctrines in cannabis, was it pharmacology, right?
We're both pharmaceutical scientists.
Pharmaceutical scientists. There we go. But also being so open about also being common everyday users, like you consume cannabis every day. So that's like it's just further destigmatizing and just showing that you can be academic that's very well educated and has huge goals and consume cannabis on a daily basis.
I think people really struggle with that intersectionality though. Like I think that's part of the reason why we get a lot of pushback. I mean, I've gotten hundreds of comments of this chick's never smoked weed in her life, or and I'm like,
or that we don't look like we smoke.
I know, and I'm like,
what
yeah,
does
just
it
because
mean?
I'm not literally smoking blunts on camera every day doesn't mean that I'm not using cannabis. And I just think it's so weird how like it can be so judgmental from that end, because it's always coming from the other end where people are like, oh, she smokes weed, she's a stoner, and now it's like she doesn't even smoke weed, she's not even a stoner, and it's like, how did this happen?
Both sides, both sides of it. I mean, you get the other side too, where like there are some people that think that I'm sure think less of us for it also.
For being openly
consumers,
like
just it's a bias.
People will judge
everywhere,
right? But for anything, so exactly, because if it's not that, it's something else. So who cares? Like whatever, either you get it or you don't. And if you like, you don't have to smoke it to support it.
No, exactly. That's true. Although if you do smoke it, like I automatically in my mind, I'm like, we're probably more likely to get along.
Right.
Just statistically, like more.
You'd be a whole lot cooler if you did. Just saying.
Oh, that's great.
That's why we're so cool.
How long have you guys been friends?
2000. Well,
I was like probably 25 or something, right?
Mid 20s, and we're about to turn 40.
Right. I don't know math.
Mid 2000s, 2005.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
2005, 2006, somewhere around.
So what's the first?
What's crazy? We went to high school together,
right?
But we didn't know each other then.
We had friends.
Oh, you weren't friends in high school,
right?
No,
we had friends,
the same people,
right? We were friends with the same people in the circle,
and we've probably been in the same place at times. And I specifically remember having PE with your husband. I went to high school with my husband. It was my.
I went. Well, my husband also went to high school with me too.
I know, but you weren't dating him at the time.
Exactly. I didn't know him either. Right.
We got married at 18.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah, I've been married almost 21 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Congratulations.
Congrats.
Thank you. But you had PE with
I had PE with her husband, and then I remember specifically you coming over to him to give him something.
Oh.
And then I remember seeing you around.
The first memory.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know you until Jesse brought you.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing you. Just like I remember seeing my husband in high school and not knowing
in
him.
high school. She didn't.
Right, I didn't. Exactly. I didn't.
So that's probably why we didn't hang out.
Oh, that's great.
I had friends who smoked weed in high school, but I never really, I smoked weed once in high school. And then I was like, oh, this is stupid.
It was only really senior year for me. I tried it freshman year a few times. And you're young. I was 14, 15. That's super young.
It was probably wicked shitty weed too. Like wicked shitty weed.
Oh, for
But it
sure.
wasn't like a regular user until senior year. You skip school, go get weed.
Yeah, I'm gonna like no comment this section.
She's like, I'm pleading the fifth.
The conversation. If
Yeah.
Riley and I, when Riley and I tell the origin story of us being friends, as we tried to do in your last episode, but like never got to the punchline of, it'll be Riley's face on TikTok.
My what?
Your face on TikTok with the GPCR video.
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
ultimately obscure video like of college science on TikTok, and being like,
It's crazy to think that like I started using TikTok this year. Like it seems like I've been in the TikTok world universe because it's so consuming. I just feel like I've been there for a long time. Like
It really
also
was this year.
moves quickly.
It's only been this year.
You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been here forever.
I think it was like January or February, but it was definitely 2021.
Wow.
So it's almost been a year. It's like it's just all. I think it just moves so quickly. It's like because TikTok itself, the app, like moves quickly too, right? It's like
It
Just
does.
life moves quickly. Like the year's almost over already.
I know.
We were like February 2020 when we first got on TikTok. It was like right before the pandemic started.
when people had no choice but to consume our content.
And then like the pandemic started. So we were like on TikTok a lot.
yeah.
I just got so confused because I was like, I was on TikTok during the pandemic, but that was my old TikTok account where I was just like not doing educational things.
What made you decide to do it? Like to just be like, hey, I'm going to start putting, this education out there and see what people say.
I was part of the URI's, like I was the TA for URI's cannabis course. And I don't want to say this in a negative way, but like the way they were teaching, I was like, oh, I could definitely say that in a different way to be like more engaging to people my age or younger. So I kind of just, I was like doing my own researching very like niche subjects. And I was like, this would make a really good video, whatever. So I started making videos and I was like, this is fun. Like to tell people about what we do, tell people about science, tell people about the cool parts of science in an interesting way. And it's kind of just a test of your communication skills. Like, can I communicate this in a way that people enjoy listening to? Can I do that? And, it was working. So I kept doing it. And, some videos flop. Sometimes I do a terrible job explaining things. And I'm like, well, that did not work. Noted. And then you just kind of move on.
Yeah, you
So,
learn from it. I also feel like it's a test of if you really understand something, because like to know if you really understand something is if you can break it down into like its core basic component to like share with someone, with someone else. And I think teaching is a really undervalued skill. I think that's why I also think parenting is an undervalued, like it's really an important thing to be able to do. And I find huge value like in other people wanting to learn things and then being like, wow, like I learned something, like I learned that something, like that's super cool. Because us teaching a college class or like TAing or teaching, I think otherwise, like I've tutored students, I've taught students, but like never have I taught like, I don't know, 1,000 people something. And even if it's something small or some little,
yeah.
little
And
bit.
the compromise there is when you do sometimes like make it in such a way that you're hoping that as many people as possible can understand these like very complex subjects, sometimes you do have to leave out details because the details just clog things up and it takes away from the main point you're trying to talk about. And that's always some of the not nice comments that I get on videos is like, you didn't say this, you forgot this concept. It's like, dude, you're not my target audience. And like, you make your own video about that if you want to teach people about that. You don't need to hop on my channel and comment that. Just trying to help people.
Okay. Have you guys heard of the terpene geraniol?
Mhm.
It's a terpene that's like sweet smelling terpene geraniol. So CBG or cannabigerol is a cannabinoid, and a part of cannabigerol, a part of that cannabinoid is geraniol, the terpene. And I got like crucified online because technically the geraniol that gets added into CBG to cannabigerol is geraniol pyrophosphate. There's 2 phosphate groups on it when it gets added on. And technically, it doesn't make CBG or cannabigerol. In the plant, it's making CBGA or cannabigerolic acid. That's what the plant makes. And it's like these little tiny nuances where you're like, yeah, but the cool part, the really cool part about the whole thing, the whole point is that a piece of cannabigerol, which then goes on to become THC and CBD, is geraniol, which is a terpene that people like. That's the cool thing in this like story. And so like,
It's so funny what people latch on to.
Well,
It's
who?
like,
But
getting
how?
bogged
What
down
are
on the
these people
details.
that are like? Who? What are the credentials?
Are
Like,
these
are they
other
how?
PhD scientists like trolling?
Yeah, how do
guys?
you?
Like
Yeah, there's
like,
other.
oh, we can't have
a lot of them.
successful women
Really?
representing this. That we got to come at them. What the hell? That's crazy.
I don't know who they are because they're always just like random people on the internet with like username 1792641 whatever, with no videos and no profile picture. So
Right.
it's like, well, I can't get too hung up on that because
Yeah, what do you?
I mean,
you ain't making shit.
I'm sorry.
right.
That's
I know nothing about you, and you're just,
specific.
you know, I've learned to block people and to just delete comments, and then that solves my problem on my end. So
Yeah, sometimes I let them bother me too much, and I'll try to retaliate.
oh, you have to, like, there's no way you can't get bothered by it unless you just never look.
Yeah,
that's why I don't check any DMs. It's like,
the DMs can be really weird on TikTok, bro. I've gotten the weirdest fucking DMs on TikTok, and I'm just like,
never looked at
ugh,
DMs on
I just
TikTok.
ignore it. Like, really?
People send you other people's videos.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Oh my god, that's the most annoying fucking
I
thing.
feel like because they're like, hey, can you
Unless
should do
you're my
this.
friend and you're sending me some funny shit like this or something that's relating to
I know I
something.
drive my crit.
But people who just randomly
TikToks.
shoot you their TikToks or they randomly send you their video of, like, what are you? What?
well, it's like, what makes you think that like you can gauge my humor at this point in our relationship? Like we've never met. You don't. You've only seen,
No, and they're
you've
usually
only seen
like,
my TikTok video.
yeah, they're the weirdest videos too that they send you. They're never.
Always.
Well, before we end this, is there anything that you guys want to share with our audience about anything upcoming other than the podcast and Smokenol? I'm saying it right?
yes. Yeah, I guess because like come listen to our podcast, Smoking Science, and we are actually in the works of being able to. We get asked all the time about Smokenol and like where and how to try stuff, and in the beginning of next year, it will be a lot easier, or probably maybe in the spring, actually, early next year.
I'm interested in trying it. I'm wondering if an edible made with Smokenol would work for me
I'm interested in
because
that too.
it's you smoke it for us. You like you're smoking it, so it's like it should be like more like that effect. So maybe that would work as opposed.
And follow Smokenol on Instagram as well, so you can just keep up to date when we actually release products and learn more about the science that we're doing, because we work at a research company that also makes this product called Smokenol. So just stay up to date, learn more about it, and we both are kind of run that page, so we upload on there quite a bit.
And that's where you can like submit questions and stuff,
And
if anyone
podcast information too.
Yeah, if anyone has any other questions or anything, send them that way.
Awesome.
For sure. Thank you guys. Always a pleasure hanging out and chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks for having us on again. This is always a blast.
Yeah, this was so cool. It's also really, it was fun. Thank you for like the advice also, because we're in the beginning of this.
Oh yeah, man. If you guys ever, I mean, I don't like to impose my whatever my experiences are. And obviously everybody goes through growing pains differently. But if there's anything that I can help you with and that I know, like, yeah.
I gotta say, you guys are killing it though, because the editing sounds great.
Yeah,
like,
man. What program are you using to edit?
Oh, thank you. It is called Wondershare Filmora or whatever. But I loosely have a music background, not like formal, not like a formal training or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
You in a band?
Yeah, my wife and I used to play in a duet. We still play in a duet often. I guess we're doing a show in like a couple months. But and I used to run a nonprofit for music for
Mm.
adults of all abilities and stuff. And like a big piece of that was recording and then like making the recordings of live sound good and stuff. So yeah, it's fun. It's a fun little niche of like mixture of things that I didn't ever think would apply to together.
I
It's so
know.
impressive.
And,
When you-
and thank goodness that both of you just decided to make content on TikTok and that you're able to find each other and now work together and like do all these cool things. Like, how cool is it to work for a company that you get to go to? What is it? What was it? MJ Con?
yeah.
MJ Biz.
Working with
Biz.
weed.
Working
how
with
cool.
Anything
all the
working with
time,
weed.
Yeah.
educating on weed. I mean, like researching it's just so cool. And it's crazy how TikTok is how you guys met.
It's really weird.
How we all met. Hello.
And it's how we met. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that.
It's how all of us met. We've met a bunch of people we've had on the show.
That's,
on
that's
TikTok
something you
too.
gotta say is that as toxic as TikTok can be, like we've found some amazing people
Yeah.
through there.
And yeah, learned a lot of really amazing things on the app too. Like there are some crazy good benefits to it, but it's not the app's fault. It's people. Well, the censorship definitely, but the people on TikTok. Like we just need to learn to control ourselves better. And of course, the algorithm could use a little work with the censorship of everything we say. But other than that, it's great.
Well, I'm looking forward to listening to more of the podcast.
One last thing. When I started, I was probably too high when I came in here at first, but my turtleneck was up like this, and I looked like a floating. I looked like a floating head
That's
for
funny.
so long, and I just started laughing, but someone was talking, so I couldn't say anything. It was so funny. And I meant to wear my headphones and didn't realize until halfway through I wasn't wearing headphones. So I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think it's still
Yeah, I'll
sounds
take
good.
whatever you're smoking.
Yeah, good stuff.
This was some good shit too.
Yeah, the
right?
flowers got some good flowers.
Peanut butter souffle.
Smelled really good.
Yeah, and it was so
Called Candy
Have you ever
Man.
seen the movie The Adventures of
Candyman.
Baron Munchausen?
No.
Oh God,
The
it's such a
floating
weird
head.
movie. That
But
is
the
such a
floating
weird-
head, what she was saying about the floating head made me think of that.
or the
Robin Williams is a floating head in that movie.
or Oz. One of the
Oz.
queens, she has like a whole thing of heads, and she goes and she takes hers off, and then she gets another one of the heads and she puts it
I
on.
don't think there's a
This is crazy. I mean, come
You
on.
It
do
does look like a
literally look
floating head.
like a floating head. Oh wait, let's take a screenshot.
Oh yeah, we should take a picture.
Okay, I'm crying.
Do that. Do you know how?
Okay, hold on.
Not on
Hold
your
on.
computer.
She did it last time too. I mean,
Okay,
she did it last
ready?
time.
Is everyone ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3.
The floating head.
All right, the floating head. I got it. Okay.
Have you seen? Oh my God, it's like those. You remember back in the day when they would do the back is all black, and then the people would be in all black except for the little pieces of whatever they're
Like
puppeteering.
puppeteers.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
I definitely saw that before.
Yeah,
Puppeteers do that. Yeah.
yes.
What I can't think of it. There was a show that was very popular that they did that in or something.
There's
Yeah,
like
it's
it's
a
like
kid's
Asian.
show.
No, there's an Asian show, and they're like
Yeah.
they're doing like I remember one of them was like a ping pong table, and then the guys would be pretending to play ping pong, and then there was the one the people in black would do they would change it. I'm gonna send you the video. How about that?
You're bringing back like memories in my brain, but it's like
Yes.
not
They're not
connecting.
connecting. Yeah.
Yeah.
like
it's
they're
those
not-
old internet videos that were viral back in the day.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. When we first started like finding funny things on the internet and then sharing it with
See,
each
back
other.
then I wasn't doing that.
But this was like I gotta say that I
was late coming to the internet.
but I started getting heavy into the internet when I started dating Jesse, which is a person who linked us up together. And that's when I started getting heavy into internet culture and like the memes and all the funny viral videos.
For me, it didn't happen until I had a computer on my
Phone.
Oh, you can't avoid it once you got one of those.
I'd say you're forced to look at it.
Wait, last thing. How do we feel about the metaverse. Like I need to
I
gauge.
don't even
feeling.
know anything about it other than memes
Yeah.
I've seen on the internet.
So it's so hacky. He's so hacky. There's a TikTok
I just
video.
hate Facebook.
I hate the guy.
Facebook.
What's his face? I hate the Facebook guy.
Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, how
He's
can
not
you watch-
real.
how
He
can you
looks
watch
fake.
the movie?
He does look reptilian. I know people are like, oh, he's a reptile, but he looks it.
but he's super.
He's not even from this planet,
awkward.
dude.
Yeah, he's weird.
I mean, I would not put it past like that being possible because I truly think there's aliens on this.
Men in Black is based on true story. I swear to God.
There's aliens.
I've met
But
people before
they're
that like, oh, you're alien in a human suit, right? Because I cannot believe it
they're
otherwise.
selling real estate in the metaverse for like $1 million right now.
Are
I'm
you
not
kidding
even
me?
joking.
Are you serious?
I'm a
Wait,
this is
what?
why I'm having this
NFT art.
episode.
It's like the NFT little art things, and people.
What, do I need to do NFTs? I don't know.
I don't understand all these things, like what people place value on now on the internet. Okay, this baffled my
but
mind.
it's all
Okay, my
internet
son
stuff.
plays Roblox, right? My son plays Roblox, right?
Fake world
And
you live
in that game, it's a free game, but you buy like different things for your avatar, right? With the Robux money that's in there, and you either buy and you have to buy the Robux with real money, right? So we have a little subscription for him to get 1,000 Robux a month for $10 since he plays it so much. It's his favorite game. For his birthday, he wanted this skin that's called the Headless Horseman, and it costs like 34,000 Robux or something like that, which was equivalent to over 300 and something, almost $400. And I kept explaining to him, I was like, if you had that much in Robux, you could buy all these other things, like a bunch
you're
of different
trying
items
to teach him the value of money
for the one thing that you are getting here, you know? And then like, we're like, see this PlayStation, this game console, that costs just as much as that digital thing that you want, right? We try to explain it to him multiple times. To him, the value was worth it, right? And there's people on the internet that spend a lot of money in just these little games for these things. And I couldn't believe that this one thing was almost $300. And I asked my husband, what is like the most expensive item sold in a video game before, like an online video game? There's like things that have gone into the millions and hundreds of thousands.
For sure. If you work on a character and you build a character, you don't remember World of Warcraft. People have souped up characters. It's
and
like years and years worth,
off.
and then they sell it.
It's just crazy.
But it's
whatever
the value
people
of money.
add value to.
Yeah.
So NFTs, they're just like, digital little pieces of art that are unique.
We could make this into an NFT. Like we could make this. I'm not saying we should. I'm
This was an example.
But like everything in like 2 years is going to be an NFT. I'm pretty sure. Like it's moving so fast.
It's so weird.
It really.
There's kids making millions on the internet.
But Bitcoin came out like how many years ago, and still Bitcoin is like, yeah, it's kind of like a thing, but it's not like a thing.
It was over 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But they're gonna. I think
what else is happening in the metaverse? Like
there was a concert. There was a concert in the metaverse.
Was there really
a real concert? People bought tickets like to go to it.
Justin Bieber gave a live concert in the metaverse.
Can we call that live?
The Weeknd and Travis Scott.
Can we call that live? It's true. I mean,
I don't know.
Instagram live or TikTok live. It's live.
Yeah,
it's live in real life, happening in real time. But it's just like an avatar. Like I don't know.
I don't really know this whole idea. Like the whole idea that the digital world would ever become more important than the physical world is something that's so far fetched to me. Like,
have you seen Ready Player One?
That's what I was just thinking.
I love that movie. I love also that's a really good book. And then there's a sequel book that came out recently that's not as good, but it's still decent if you like the movie. That's good. But I need
to write that down.
I can't get
Ready Player One. Yeah, you need to see that if you haven't seen it.
It's
very metaverse.
It's like what Wall-E. Like we're all gonna just be.
I know, but but it's like the world. That world, the future doesn't look very great, guys.
If we're all plugged in all the time.
Yeah. What?
Well,
no,
I'm worried.
I'll just be the.
You should be worried. Like there's. What is it? What is the robots taking over? Skynet. Gotta worry about that. Yeah. Even Terminator stuff, or you guys are too young for it.
It's Terminator.
No, Terminator.
I know Terminator, but yeah,
but basically, artificial intelligence just becomes super intelligent and just kills off humans.
Oh, like iRobot.
Yeah, that too. Yes, I robot.
Yeah.
Terminator is a great film, by the way. If you
It
like.
is.
So this metaverse thing is pretty much just like Ready Player One.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like it's identical to whatever they call that. I forget what they call
You
it.
gotta
Except
wear-
the graphics are not as cool.
You gotta wear goggles and stuff.
On Ready Player One, it looks so cool.
And
like
gloves
I
and
know,
stuff.
it looks
see
real.
the
I
memes
think-
of
I don't
metaverse
know.
doesn't look that cool. It
You
looks
must have to
too
wear
laboratory.
goggles.
You must have to wear goggles,
Right.
Like
Yeah, you have to have, I think, the whole stick, like, you know, the goggles, the glove things.
For now, they're gonna just toss something in our brain
like,
soon, and
they're
we're
on
just gonna.
treadmills, or
Like,
like,
yeah,
they're,
yeah.
like, connected
You
to
seen
treadmills and shit, 'cause they're, like,
Grandma's boy
running.
and those chairs where it's like they're all like lying down.
Yep.
No, bro.
Oh man.
Go
Yeah,
outside.
That's how it is in Ready Player One. No, wait, what is the
That
other one that
shit's-
they're in a chair?
That sounds so like scary.
I don't know.
Matrix is where they're in.
Matrix, yeah.
They're plugged
Oh, a
in
new
the
Matrix
back
is
of the
coming
head.
out. A new Matrix movie is coming
yeah.
out.
No way.
And you know what? I saw a trailer
Look up
for
the
it, and I
trailer,
was like,
bro.
you know what? Keanu Reeves is so much hotter now than he was then. It's like babyface Keanu Reeves does not compare to current Keanu Reeves.
I always think of Keanu Reeves, a meme of him sitting in the park bench being all sad, like feeding a pigeon. You ever seen
Yeah.
that? I love
I
it.
always think of that one, or the one where
one of
it's
my
like,
favorites.
or the one where it's just like him not aging, like it's like Keanu Reeves.
Oh, he's wonderful.
He really is.
The idea that we're in a Matrix, that's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, we are integrating with technology to a pretty scary degree. I get like to have a sustainable future, we need to do something, but the metaverse is a little uncomfortable for me. at
Yeah.
this
I think
moment.
people need to spend more time outdoors and just enjoying like fresh air and nature and being outside. Like I don't feel like people do that enough.
And
It's okay to
especially
like
for-
to play games and be there for a while, but get out and do other stuff too.
And for mental health purposes, like honestly, I think a 30-minute walk like is one of the best things that you can possibly do for your mental health. I mean, just getting outside, smelling fresh air, and not having your phone in your hand, not having your AirPods in, just like actually soaking in your environment and focusing on like the beautiful things around you and not the other technology related things in your life. Like
And-
scrolling on TikTok is probably the worst thing that you can do when
I
you're
So bad.
not feeling great.
Yeah, just like your actual physical connection, because we are physically here. Like we are taking up physical space and interacting with like other things in the world, which I don't know. I think digital life is cool. I think it's awesome that we're able to chat and we're physically located far. Like there are advantages to it, certainly, but yeah, no, it totally freaks me out. Now I'm like starting to read articles and stuff, and it's like it's freaking me out.
Yeah, sorry, I just put all of my fears onto you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Like,
Like, she's
what
like,
you
this has been
did,
bothering me all
Riley.
day,
She put
guys.
fear in us.
Ready?
Riley put the fear in us.
No, but it's balanced. It's always balanced. Like, you know,
I don't know. I left
every
Facebook
balance.
a long time ago, so I'm not going nowhere near that metaverse. No, thank you.
yeah, I'm gonna
I hope
stay
I can
away.
live my life
Opting
without entering
out.
the metaverse.
Yeah, Facebook is a big stinky diaper right now.
I can live my life entering the metaverse.
I'm gonna send you guys a sweet TikTok of that guy. What's his name again? The metaverse guy, Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg.
Saying
the
sweet,
alien.
yeah. I'm trying to strike up casual conversation with his bros at a barbecue. It keeps talking about Sweet Baby Ray's, and it's like every time he says that name of the barbecue sauce, every time he says Sweet Baby Ray's, it's like this guy is fake, right? This guy is like an astral projection, right? Like he's like not real. He's like a robot from outer space.
He's imitating a human.
And in the worst way, he can't even get it right. Humans are not like that guy. And you cannot watch the Facebook movie and be like, oh, this guy seems cool. Totally want to hang out with him. No. And on top of that, quite frankly, the actor who plays him, Jesse Eisenberg,
I
Although
like
he
Jesse
didn't-
Eisenberg.
I don't. I think I think he was perfect to play Mark
I know.
Zuckerberg because he's
Tell us how
that
you really
he's that
feel.
weird, awkward. I mean, I don't know him personally, but he's just weird and
I don't know.
awkward.
Why is he still the face and spokesman of Facebook? Like nobody trusts Zuckerberg. Like
No,
why are they still
'Cause
tossing him out
'cause
there?
I
Like
think he still has control over it.
Yeah, he does. He's has a death grip on that control.
You know.
oh my
Yeah, he's
gosh.
like he's still pulling the strings. So
Ugh.
I don't know. But
I'm
on that
gonna have
note,
nightmares of being stuck in the
Mark
metaverse.
Zuckerberg.
Thanks.
Hello, fellow students. He's like trying to blend in.
Our families are like doing parties in the metaverse. You got to come to the your grandmother's birthday. Oh, you get the invitation to
God.
go to the metaverse. No, I thought we were getting together.
Well, you know what? Honestly, I kind of rather meet my family online than in person. So I'm kidding.
Well, maybe
Don't
in the
record this
metaverse,
part,
you
but
can
so
be
real.
Two places. Do you think you can be like two places at once in the metaverse? Like you can just clone yourself and toss
or
yourself at a party.
You could have like a picture in picture where you're like
it
ignoring
would be a
your
bot.
mom, and then you know what I mean.
Your
Like,
A sim, an unattended
And you
sim,
could
and you're
jump
just floating
between
in
the
one
two,
place.
Like
and
Nobody
you
would be
could just-
surprised if I went to a party and just went like this the whole time.
you're just like in the corner,
She's just vibing. It's
It's
okay.
all good.
hitting the bong over and over again.
I just go to my metaverse like family part and just be like mute.
Yeah, who knows what it'll be like.
I wonder what kind of world my son's gonna have when he's.
Oh man, that $300 for a thing though. That skin. That's so.
Oh my god! Oh, so I didn't
expensive.
finish. He was adamant about it, and I was like, "Look, we're not spending that much on that. What you can do is that if for your birthday you can ask everybody in your family for Robux, and if you get enough Robux, you can decide how to spend it with how you want."
There you go. Yeah.
I tried to explain.
Did he get enough?
He did easily. He just like I asked, who was it? Mimi, Abuela,
He got the money.
Emane, and everybody got him a Robux gift card.
Okay.
And then he, between all those gift cards, he had enough.
Did he buy it?
Yes, he did.
He did?
In a second.
Oh my
Like
God.
we added all and the money was just there, like this big balance. And I was like wanting to take a picture of it. And before I even got to take a picture of it, it was like purchased. Boop, gone, click, gone.
Well, he liked it. It made him happy.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
I mean, you know, he did
But
what you said.
now the other kids on the internet think he's rich.
Oh.
They're like, "Oh, this kid has the headless horseman."
Headless.
Well, he should, and then he could tell him no.
And I was like,
worked
"Look,
for
we're
it.
not
Everybody-
rich, and you remember, don't ever say your name on the internet."
Don't ever.
Like he knows we have very strict rules about he can't tell anybody his name or where we live or anything like that. We've made it very clear that there's bad people on the internet and predators and good people too. So you have to be very careful who you talk to. So
Oh my God. I've seen some TikToks of people who say like very controversial things. Usually they make sense, but they're like pretty controversial. And then they'll like stitch another video or a message from someone saying like, I know where you live. Like, I know where your family, like really creepy messages.
oh yeah,
I
like they're
know-
gonna attack
Or they call them, like they have their phone number. They have everything about them. And
get doxed. That's what they call it, doxed, when they out you on the internet, like where you live and all that.
yeah, it's like pretty scary, honestly.
Yeah, I just have to hope that I'm not important enough for
Right?
or piss anyone off enough to like, I don't know. But there's like crazies out there. That's for sure.
That's
Yep.
the world we live in. If only everyone would just
Yeah.
smoke some cannabis, and then it would probably be a lot
I
more peaceful
know.
place.
Really does make you a better person, in my
It-
opinion. Like
it
helps you chill out
really-
when you're
It
in a mood.
does. It totally does.
Oh well, this was so much fun.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I definitely want to do this at least once a season because this is always fun talking
Hell
to you
yeah.
guys. And I'm sure by next season, you're gonna already have gone.
We
so
should-
much. So much has happened since the last time we had you.
We
on,
should
so
have
I'm
a
sure-
segment, and we can do if we could batch record with them if you want to do a segment on the show, and we could do
Well, they got
day
a
where we
lot
can
going
record
on
something.
their own, but we're just gonna be like, hey, we want
Right, but if we schedule them like another day like this, in the future, obviously not like next week or something. But once we have something planned out, if we can,
We planned this
plan
date
it
like
out,
2 months ago.
right? So we could, if we think of a segment or something,
Yes.
that would be fun. Just a fun,
Or
different way of
If you
like
come across
having you
any
guys
good
on the
research
show.
about like motherhood and cannabis, like please share it with us.
Yes,
Cool,
you know, we
for
will.
sure.
And we will also be reaching out to you when we do look at that research and like
We'll start planning for
we will
our
also start planning.
future podcast.
We will also begin planning. Just period. Planning.
Yes, anything.
Just
But-
generally for everything.
No, this
Well,
was
maybe one day, like in real life, we'll be able to meet you guys like at a convention or something. That'd be really
that
cool.
would be
Or
Yes.
doing shrooms in Disney. That sounded fun
Shrooms in
too.
Disney.
Come.
That'd be so
100%.
fun.
All right, February.
Really magic.
February, yeah,
Yeah.
second weekend.
February 11,
yeah,
12,
11,
13.
12, 13.
If that ends up being the overlap with like the school vacation, that's possible. That's a possible thing. I don't know. Does Florida get school off in February? Is there a break then? Or-
Oh, no, that's the weekend. So
Yeah, we're just gonna do like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
bit,
yeah.
and
So
do maybe two
they-
parks or something.
Florida usually gets their spring break like towards the end of March.
Well, I'm looking into it. Yeah, so New England schools get a February break and like an April break. I don't know if
Oh.
it's all New England schools or if it's Massachusetts. It's because the winter here is like that depressing. Like
It's
Hey,
pretty
man.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah.
In February, it's like, oh my God, I'm sick of this.
yeah, for real.
It's always
But-
Right
hot
now, it's
and
fun.
sunny here.
Okay, so February
February.
11th through 13th. I want to look into that. I'm like
Yeah,
For sure.
I love it.
Let us know.
curious.
That'd be fun.
All right. Okay, but if not, we'll have to come down some other time. We'll figure it out because
Yeah, for
we
sure.
we should.
I mean, we live in
which-
Florida and we have some of the best beaches on the planet.
And you have lizards. I love lizards.
Oh my God.
Oh my god!
She has an infestation of iguanas
Yeah,
in
my
her
backyard.
backyard.
There's like 40 iguanas, and they all run up the tree. It's bad. It's really
Iguanas
bad.
are like South Florida's rats, like what rats are to New York. Iguanas are to like Florida. South
Yeah,
Florida.
they're
That's-
yeah.
I feel like they're cooler than
They're
rats.
so cool looking.
They're cooler looking than rats
They're
for sure,
definitely
but they're
cooler than rats,
very
but
they're just as
they're
annoying.
everywhere.
They're just they're
You
But
guys have
we're-
gators near you?
Yeah, there's gators everywhere in Florida.
yeah, but
You gotta-
not, but we're not. Not,
I mean, it's not like, if you're going into a body of water, just always be cautious. You never know what's in there. But it's like, we're not
But
that far from
yeah,
the
alligators have never
Everglades.
walked into our house casually and we've been like,
No,
"Ooh."
I've
But
never
do you
had
still,
like a gator in my
still
backyard.
swim in like bodies of water? Do you still go swimming?
I
even
go
though they're
ocean
liquid?
all
Yeah,
the time. I go in the
ocean.
ocean. I don't like
But-
lakes and stuff.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, you wouldn't go in.
I just don't like it. I just don't like lakes.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a pristine,
I'm
beautiful
terrified.
lake somewhere, I don't know, in Oregon.
we
I
should go
swam
to
in a
the-
beautiful lake there or whatever, like gorgeous lakes. Here
The
it's not gorgeous lakes.
There's springs here.
The
though,
springs
that we've heard of.
I've always
never
wanted to
been.
go in the freshwater springs here.
Yeah.
And I've always been afraid because I know that, gators could be there sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
wouldn't
think
even-
I wouldn't fuck with that.
Wouldn't
But-
even get fucking near it.
No,
That
but
scares
there's
the shit
springs-
out of me.
But
There's there's so many people. I think the gators stay away.
no, but there's springs here that are like parks, like
Oh.
state parks that are like built for people to go. And
I know, but that doesn't give you 100%.
Well, nothing gives
picturing,
you
like,
100%.
There's manatees a lot of the times.
Ugh,
Sometimes.
love manatees.
wasn't there a kid out in Disney Springs walking around the water and an alligator came out and got him?
A 2-year-old was killed by an alligator in
I
Disney
remember
World at
that.
the Grand Floridian Hotel. Think about this. The Grand Floridian Hotel is one of the most expensive hotels that they have there. That family was there for like a week and I think they had multiple children. I don't think it was just him. And the amount of money they must have spent to travel there and be there all week. And then for something so crazy and tragic
That's
like that to
terrible.
happen.
I know. And then
I can't even imagine that happening. Like your kids just like,
Yeah, it's a terrible situation.
like splashing in the water and all of a sudden the freaking gator takes them.
I mean, yeah, but right. But there's signs that say there's alligators here. So maybe don't come close.
I've seen videos of like it happening to dogs and the owners jumping on the gator and like getting their dog free and all that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But if you won't have a problem.
don't worry.
Okay.
Look, we don't live that close to the Everglades where gators are a problem. It's mostly iguanas. Iguanas and lizards.
And they ain't gonna leave. They ain't gonna do nothing to you anyway.
And if anything, roaches.
And,
Big roaches that fly
and people who
outside.
don't use their blinkers when they turn here.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'm used to that one.
Yeah, it'd be like Boston driving was.
Oh man. Oh yeah. Well, you guys, there's rude people in Boston, so you guys will be fine here.
It'll be good.
You guys will be fine. But people are like, I would say probably equally as rude over here too. I don't know. It's like a culture mash over here, so everybody gets frustrated with one another.
Well, where we live is
Can't
very
drive.
different from the rest of Florida.
Yeah, we don't
live
live.
in
Yeah,
South
right.
Florida,
South
it's
Florida,
like-
there's more cultural diversity here. Whereas if you go up north to like Jacksonville or
It's very Caucasian.
it's a little
like,
more.
That's like Georgia,
specific.
practically, right?
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
up there, but
Yeah.
It's like a whole.
one of my friends, her husband's in the Navy, and she was stationed there he was stationed there, and then she lived there in like the northern Florida region for a while, and we were talking about it, and she's like, "It's not Miami."
No, it's not.
And even we're uncomfortable.
Very
with
different.
everything.
Yeah. Like we live a sheltered life here because it's like conducive to our, cultural identities. I don't know how I would survive somewhere else. My accent's very thick. Even for Miami, my accent's very
You're a
thick.
Miami
Even
girl
people from
accent.
Miami, my other friends are more Hispanic than me. They're more involved in the Hispanic culture than I am. But for whatever reason, I have the thickest accent of the three. And so like, it's just like, I don't know.
It's so exciting when you're in another place though, and you hear the Miami accent though. Like when I lived in Germany, I actually heard someone else that had that accent. I was like,
And you're like, you're one of
from
me.
Miami,
You're one of
aren't
me.
you? Like where are you from?
Uh-huh. You could tell right away.
Oh, that's great. I'm so bad at recognizing accents, except the Boston accent. I usually can.
Yeah, Boston accent.
I can't hear almost any accents. I guess the Boston one I'm getting like kind of accustomed to, but all right, I gotta call it a night.
All
Yeah, we
right.
gotta
Yeah,
go
us
to
too.
bed.
Thank you guys. Good night.
We're
Yeah,
Have a good one.
Night.
You in February in Disney, all right?
Send us an email. Okay, all right.
I will. I'll send you the info.
Bye.